All right, I guess I'll give you guys a minute to kind of file in here. As you can see, who I have sitting with me, my good friend and colleague, Mr. Steve Poikonen. Um, Pretty much since I started out, what I would say my content, creator, I guess endeavor. Steve has probably been there since almost day one. So I remember one of the first panels we were on. It was certain stuff that people were saying on there, and we were kind of looking at each other the same way, like, the fuck is this idiot saying? And so from that moment on, we kind of felt like a little bit of a kinship. And then I remember we talked after the live stream, and we kind of kept a relationship here and there. Of course, all these different events get going on, and it stays tough to stay in touch with everybody, but I've always still had a lot of love for Steve, and watch his live streams also, and a lot of the stuff which he does over there. Even when he's taking a lot of criticism from some people trying to say he's some kind of grifter for Assange, and I never bought into any of that. But also another thing I wanted to say, because I've gotten a little bit of flack from some people. They say that I don't cover Assange hardly ever. And the reason is it's no dissing into Assange, it's nothing like that. What it is there's just so many issues to get to. And since there are much bigger platforms than myself, like Steve and a lot of other people out there, I lean on a lot of their expertise. So I'll say a little bit here and there, but because I'm not following it day to day as much as they are, I don't feel the place to just jump in and spout a lot of my opinions. So I kind of take a little back seat to those who are, right there in the heart of the cause. But I look at the overall fight for, it's for press freedom overall. That's what it's all initially about. Even no matter whose name you put there, Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, no matter whose name you want to put there, this is what this fight is overall about. So I guess I blabbed a little bit to kind of let some people file in here. So I'll let Steve kind of talk. For those who don't know, Steve, he is the CEO and founder of Slow News Day, Vigil for Assange. He's been involved with a lot of these different causes fighting for Assange, and staying up to breast with a lot of the trial things that have been going on. He also dives into tons of different issues and topics, wide ranging throughout the political sphere, through world news, through politics in various countries. So, oh yeah, I forgot. And he is part of the MCSC network, which I definitely want to give a big shout out to them and all of the whole team over there, Nico House and everybody, Combo Couch. I don't want to miss any names, so I'll stop rambling and I'll let Steve get in and speak for himself. How are we doing, Steve?
Man, I'm all right, Marcus. It's really good to see you. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sorry it's taken so long. It's been a minute. But I'm glad we're doing this now. And yeah, I host Slow News Day along with Glory Jones, and about the last like month and a half, Ali Alexandra has joined the team. We have the world's best tech guy on the planet, Sleepy Josh. Make sure I give him a shout out. And yeah, the beginning of the year, um, well, after we were all in Washington D.C. together, um, uh, and I'm talking specifically about Nico and the Convo Couch, but also Franco. Um,
Oh yeah, Franco, definitely.
and a handful of other people were hanging. We were there because the decision and whether or not Julian Assange was going to be rendition to the United States was going to be read out. Um, so we were holding events around that. This was at the exact same time as the force the vote stuff. Um, so both Nico and Fee had been asked to speak at that at the force the vote thing. Um, So we were all hanging out together, and when we got back, Nico was like, that was really fun when we all like got together as independent media and also organized events and made some shit happen. We should make that how the network goes now. So let's all kind of get in
So,
here and let's
so
do that.
that's kind of how things kind of came together. Because I kind of wondered. I mean, it made sense because I can see all the natural political views lining up and the same kind of the same kind of viewpoint and I guess passion. But and so I guess it makes sense that there was a genesis point. Yeah. Tell me more.
Well, and it was, I mean, it was it still is a journey. But I mean, if you look at what, you know, Nico, Convo Couch, even us were talking about several years ago, um, uh, maybe with the exception of me, but like all at very different parts on not just a political, but you know, um, really like all encompassing and spiritual journey as well. And so I will take a lot of credit for this, man. The fucking black pilling of Fiorella Isabel. Your boy has some shit to do with that, Marcus. It's true. It's true, and I love it, man. I do because we don't get to vote our way out of this shit, man. It's like the sooner people figure that out, the better we're all gonna be because then we can actually come together and work on some shit in a post-partisan fashion, and then we secure, some sort of representative republic. Then we can have the conversations about what party is and what policy is and shit. Like, well, we're not there yet. We're not.
Yeah.
And so what MCSC is doing, and what we did from the moment that we started the Free Assange vigils, was approach media from a place of activism. We're not trying to say that we're not biased, but if anything, our bias is towards um, getting to the actual root of the problem, identifying correctly what the root of the problem is, and then realizing and speaking to the fact that everything that happens in politics and around politics is the shit that the public is allowed to see and gets to participate in under very controlled, very defined parameters. But that's a spectator fucking sport.
Well, that's why it's funny that you said the word bias there, because lately I've kind of just been keying in on words and etymology of words and different things like that. And when you think about it, in reality, all of us have a bias when it comes to politics and different things like that, because we all are products to some degree of the environments that we've been subject to. And so we're going to have viewpoints from those interactions and experiences, of course. And so some people have more of a compassion for their average man or woman who's down, and the more information they find out, the more passionate they are and want to fight for them. Some people feel like, well, the cause is too lost, so what is it? This is only this percentage of people in the world that are going through this, so oh well, we can ignore that as long as majority of this amount of population is doing somewhat okay. And I look at it, I mean, trying to simplify some of these things down, we all do have a bias to a sense. The difference is, I feel like many of us in the independent sphere, our bias, we put them out there. We tell them, this is how we feel about this story we're reading and understanding. And we're not trying to hide the ball. Whereas with corporate media, none of these assholes will ever tell you exactly how they feel on anything. And so you don't know what their bias is at all. They're just giving you news, and you don't even, a lot of times we don't even check the framing of how they lay out some of these questions. And it's like that's in some of the manipulation right there, which they're playing with the whole, that wordplay and framing the narrative and that's how you start pushing a narrative over and over and over by those different little sound bites.
No, 100%. And anyone that is remotely familiar with manufacturing consent, like, knows that there are very defined parameters of allowable conversation. But my theory is that consent done got manufactured. If
Mhm.
not before, by the time the ink was drying on the Patriot Act, and the last nearly 2 decades, the primary role of the media has been to manufacture confusion, because we already have the consent. We got the consent for a war on an idea, a never ending war on the idea that there might be people out there who hate us for our freedom. You know, and what we've allowed to occur as a result of that forever war against that idea, um the fundamental erosion of whatever was left of our civil rights, of our civil liberties, of our human rights, of our legal rights, all of these things. And so we therefore need to be kept in this constant state of confusion, this constant ratcheted up division, this sort of just, shit your pants fear that maybe our neighbor, Marcus, not even someone overseas,
Mhm.
but our neighbor may be a terrorist or a disease vector, or just in general someone we should not associate with or trust unless they think just like we do.
Yep.
And most importantly, unless they vote just like we do.
Well, that's one thing I was sitting there thinking about. Though we don't have very many laws on the book, but there are still ones in extreme cases on segregation. If you think about it, this nation is gets more and more segregated. I mean, by the minute it seems like, because certain people start thinking a certain way, move to certain areas, and then they invite more of those people to those areas. A lot of times, pushing people out of certain areas. For instance, all of a sudden, I mean, because a lot of times we think of gentrification and we only think of it from the inner city perspective. But I'll give you a perfect example. I grew up in Kansas City. On the Kansas side, it was a lot of farmland out there. When they decided to build the Kansas Speedway, guess who got pushed off of that land? That was a lot of rural farmers. Now, some of them took the payout and were happy with it. Some of them, they literally moved their whole entire house to another location. But you got to remember, there's always going to be a remnant of people who are not fine with that. And those people got railroaded.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. And that, I mean, when you can't segregate along racial lines anymore, right? When that became a thing that you couldn't legally do, the
Mhm.
natural thing was to segregate along economic lines. Once you can, and then if you can successfully socioeconomically segregate, then you can apply, direct manufacturing of division among the socioeconomic classes, to where you can further segregate not just along economic lines, but along racial lines, or along religious lines, or along political lines. And the more you have to have someone like hyper hyphenate their isms, what they are, the more extra labels you can get people to attach to themselves, to make them the kind of people that they'll even allow themselves to communicate with, as
Mhm.
small as possible. Then it doesn't matter really, like, how big the numbers of those communities get. As long as you can keep them from talking to each other, you can control all of them by making sure they hate each other.
Well, here's something like, uh, I don't know if I'm gonna say this one. I might hint around at it, and I'm pretty sure you might be able to figure out what I'm laying down. In the audience, they're pretty sharp also. But um, when I start looking back at the slave trades, for instance, it's always taught in history that it's basically, oh, the white man, the white man. No, granted, a lot of white people were responsible for it, but it's never looked at as who was doing what, where, what money was involved, and things behind the scenes. The people who were making directives and saying, okay, you're going to do it, but this is how you should do it. And here are extra things you should do. Those questions are never asked. And so, as of recently, when I started going into some of the research, what it started to show me was it was this schism that was going on that we still, for I guess, intensive purposes, I'll just say the I guess the top level, the top layer people who are controlling basically most of the economy and all of these things. And of course, we're talking about, okay, people change in and out, but just there's always this crust of people back to the kings or whatever. There's always somebody who's at the top ruling. Well, anyway, these people at the top created a level right below, and that level right below had a certain level of power also. Hey, Chris, they had a certain level.
What's going on, fellas?
Let's go, man.
It became a big, huge drop off between these people who are at this power level and these people who are down there. And so what they did is, for a time period, they were able, I guess, I felt like those people at the top were not quite as greedy as they are now. So they afforded some privileges to some of the people who somewhat look like them to a degree. So that's the reason why you had somewhat white privilege, which kind of spanned all the way across from upper echelons into lower echelons. But as time has went on, these people have just gotten to the point where they just don't care. Ooh, almost dropped my phone. They just don't care. Anybody who is under a certain line, whereas some of the poor whites who were involved in like the slave catching to some of the ones who were just poor, and a lot of people don't talk about this fact about slavery. The poor whites who, this is going to sound messed up saying this, but excuse me, I just got to say it. The whites who could not afford slaves, who were so poor or whatever, or they were trying to run a business, they couldn't compete with a larger plantation, which had slaves. And so it hurt them economically. So many of them, whether it wasn't necessarily because they cared about the slaves, it was like, you're killing me business-wise because I can't compete with you having free labor over here. So there were plenty of whites who were against slavery also. In a nutshell, what I'm saying is you had these certain tier groups that were separated from the top levels to put people into certain roles. And so, hey, you're gonna be oppressed to a certain degree, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of a break because of this. But the moment you slip up, then I can bust you right down with the rest of them. You get what I'm saying? And so I feel like just now it's become so much more organized within the class systems that there's still that top level, and then there's that other chunk of very, very wealthy, and then there's that huge gap to everybody else who's down in that level. And they're using certain people who are kind of like at that, let's say, upper middle class level to be the administrators and the bosses and all the middlemen to
The managerial class.
The professional
exactly.
class.
And I'm just trying to tie the two together. Sorry for the long-winded kind of, analogy, but
Could I take a shot?
Huh?
Could I take a shot?
Sure, go ahead.
It's the oligarchy needs middle management, right? The predator class needs a group of fucking intensely insecure, like Karen ass motherfuckers, like 100%, that are petrified of ever having to become the people that they're in charge of, or that they're like perceived to be in charge of. And that sort of insecurity, that sort of tension, that sort of like all-encompassing sociopathy, but not being born with the right bloodline or last name or into the right family or whatever the fuck like the actual predator class cares about when they select somebody to bring up into the ranks to like help, keep it from being too fucking inbred. Like, however that goes down, it's that middle man, or that like managerial club. What'd you call it? The professional class is a perfect way to describe it. They're the people that gotta go. Like they're the people that have to realize that the difference between the 0.001% and the 0.01% is huge, right? But then
Yes.
the difference between like the 0.01%, the 0.1%, and the 1%, even bigger. Like there are multimillionaires that I have much more in common with than I ever will a billionaire or somebody that would get invited to Davos. Because the multimillionaire, especially if you live here in California, really ain't got it like that. Like all that shit's tied up in fucking fake money and can be taken away instantly. Fiat currency and investments in a market that exists largely on people's belief in it.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
that's
the only-
exactly what this is all
That's
based on.
the only.
Sorry, Chris, you want to hop in there?
No, I was just gonna say that's the only reason why it exists, because people continue to believe in it. You know what I'm saying? The moment you decide to mentally break that thought process, that's whenever you will see change come. But until then, everyone's still kind of like, I hate it, but I'm gonna still participate. So it's kind of like where we are right now. But those who can see what's coming, you'll be smart to try to get your shit in order.
Well, speaking of what's coming, to throw in a world event that I've noticed, was it China and a couple of the other countries are starting to dump their American currency. So I was just wondering.
Well, we
what's
saw
your
that.
thoughts on stuff?
Well, we saw that coming. If you think about it, Corona brought along, besides crazy news coverage, it also brought along the printing of a lot of money. So, they printed trillions of dollars from last February, March, maybe even before then too. So they've just been putting money, they just literally shitting money right now. And I was looking at, I saw some video earlier this week with Warren Buffett, I think, and he was referring, and they were talking about inflation. So he mentioned the price of lumber and, all these other goods. So, the financial collapse of the dollar, I mean, not the financial collapse, but the end of the dollar is pretty much where we're living through it. It's kind of like, we came in with tapes and then CDs came. So that's basically like where we are right now.
So is crypto the CDs? Is crypto MP4? Is like, or is it even worse? Is it like what laser disc, where it's just gonna fucking bite us in the ass if we throw our investment behind it?
Now the thing with crypto,
I touched the nerve with Marcus there. It was like I was on the Criterion Collection. It was my shit. Fucking.
Look, I was thinking about crypto the other day. That may decide to break. That may end up being like a regional thing where some places use one form of crypto and another, because the banks are coming with their form of currency as well, digital currency too. So it's going to be a lot of different options floating around for people to use. And I just think, like everything else, it'll be a clique of people that decide on one or the other, kind of like Apple and Android, so to speak. Except there'll be a few more options.
I want to let them know in the audience, those who might be coming over, who are familiar with Steve and new to the show. I want to welcome you all in, first of all. But Chris has a lot of background and knowledge dealing with the financial markets and stuff like that. So some of the stuff which he tells you to kind of look out for, I would kind of keep an ear to the ground when he says it.
I mean, you could just, and also too, you don't even have to have that background, right? You could just, just pay attention to certain, metrics within the system, and you could see what's going on, especially when you start looking at, like you said, what China's doing, what Russia's doing, what the rest of the world is doing in terms of economics. Look, we only exist because we have the biggest military, kid, at this point,
Steve, I want to know your opinion. Remember when China, they had that sit down with the United States ambassador. What did you think about that sit down? Remember that when he basically went off on the American ambassador, saying, you guys got all the problems in there with all the minorities. You guys have the George Floyd situation. You got all that. You have a lot of nerve to come over here and start trying to preach and talk down to us.
Well, this is a situation that the Five Eyes countries have found themselves in over and over and over again. I mean, I guess as this period of accelerationism starting around 2015, 2016, it really kicked off. And when you claim to be the moral authority and you're, the native genocide into slavery, into, Jim Crow, into total economic warfare on your entire population while driving down the ability to get educated, properly educated at any rate, and fucking making sure that there's absolutely no way possible for anyone without inherited wealth to build generational wealth, regardless of what your color is. Like when all of that happens, you don't get to be the moral arbiter of all things right and good in the world anymore. You don't. So it doesn't matter what country you're talking to. They can go, you don't get to come at me for human rights violations. You currently have XYZ going on. And so whataboutism only works when both parties are shitheels, right? Like that, you don't, if your hands are clean, so to speak, the whataboutism doesn't work because the other party can't go, well, what about when you did? And then you just devolve into who's a bigger shitheel, right? And then it doesn't go anywhere.
It's like people trying to convince you to vote for Trump or Biden. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, do you want
do I want cholera or do I want gonorrhea?
I was going to say, you want dog shit or cat shit? Which one?
Yeah. Whitney Webb, our good friend, she said, I don't care what kind of bread the shit sandwich comes on.
That's really what it is.
It's still a shit sandwich.
It's still a shit sandwich.
You can put garlic on it, mustard, ketchup. It's still a shit sandwich. And that's the funny thing. That's the funny thing. Even now, with what's been going on, I still see people trying to make an argument for, well, Biden, he's doing this, and Biden, he's doing that. I heard somebody say, well, Biden is open back up the economy, and he's gotten out COVID shots. For one, that's a process which has been going on throughout Congress anyway, and was going to roll out the way it's rolling out, regardless of who was there. So to give a lot of credit to that, that's not impressive. Also, we won't even go into that, but
hey, let me ask you guys a question. You guys both live in California. You guys live in California, right? Both of you. No, yo, what's up? They gonna get your man Newsom out of there? What?
Oh God, I hope so, dude. But here's the problem. They want to make everybody vote on the next governor that day. They want to have the snap election for the day that you vote to recall Newsom is the day that you vote for Newsom's replacement, which gives like next to no time for anybody who isn't Caitlyn fucking Jenner to like get their name out there. It allows for tech, Hollywood, and fucking developers to control who gets to replace Newsom. And as cathartic as it is to get rid of that just miserable fucking legacy loser, he's gonna get replaced with another fucking monster. Like, yeah, sure, it'll be for like 10 minutes be our monster, but only 10 minutes, And
correct.
That's the reality of it. But I mean, again, for 10 glorious minutes, no more Gavin Newsom. And I'm going to love each and every blessed second of that, my friend.
You know what's funny is years ago, I thought he had a chance to be president. Like before I really like started looking at him, But I saw how he was getting a little bit of the treatment. You know, they was trying to make him seem like some kind of golden boy that, you know, the ladies would love. He's worth, but I've seen his stock just hit the floor like Wile E. Coyote back in the day in the Roadrunner cartoons, right? Just straight splat. And
Well,
I don't get
that's the thing. I think it all corresponds with what's been going on with the whole legacy media and all this stuff as a whole. If you look at, you know, the genesis, which has been happening, say, what, right after the Iraq War got going, MSNBC was well respected still for a good amount of, you know, who I would say leftists now. But how fast they devolved and how their math slipped when we realized,
yo, that moment they
the whole time they weren't
that moment
really
they got sorry, Marcus. I was gonna say that moment they got rid of Donahue, that should have just told everybody like, yo, something's going on. Like Phil Donahue, that dude, the talk show guy, you got rid of him. I remember him when I was a kid.
It was Ed
But you know
Schultz,
why they did though.
When Ed Schultz left, I was done with him.
I mean,
Ed Schultz was my guy. He was respectable on there. So when he left, I felt they, and especially how he left. And then back when I used to respect Cenk, how he used to be on the air, and you know, as they started like to lose a lot of those people before they kind of eventually, now most of them sold out anyway. But back then, a lot
It's straight
of
up conservative Republican talking points all day now. And I don't even watch it. I just see the little bit I see on Twitter and, you know, the little bit if I see CNN in somebody's house or a store or some shit like that. But, you know, it's all what we like. It's all like George Bush talking points, and liberals and Democrats are running around applauding this shit like, you know, like it's dope.
You don't even have to watch it. You can just talk to a Twitter liberal and you're going to hear it.
Oh, that's for sure.
They literally just parrot the same shit that they say.
Mm-hmm. Kelly, what's up? She said, is anyone taking Jenner seriously?
No, hell no. I mean, especially like Steve said before, you got to understand how tricky they play around with some of these election laws. How, okay, you got to vote on this day and you got to register by this time. You got to have this amount of forms. And a lot of the bullshit that they play out here, it's set up where if you don't have a political kind of machine already set up and cash and donors and all those people already involved in the process, it's set up in a way so you will fail.
I mean, yeah. Again, we live in a fucking oligarchy. You can't vote your way out of an oligarchy. You can't legislate your way out of an oligarchy. You can, like, there will be like things that you'll be allowed to think that you did, maybe. You know, a couple of ballot initiatives that don't really hurt anyone at all in a position of power. In fact, maybe make it a little bit easier for them to continue fucking over whatever other groups didn't get their one little crumb out of this particular thing. And then all you have are people fighting each other for like who gets a crumb first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's progressive politics now.
Or being mad at you because you got a crumb. Like you didn't wait in line to get that crumb. They're the weirdest people, man. I really tell you. Oh, Marcus, did you see the news? I know it's not a sports show, but I did want to bring it up because I wanted to make a point. Did you see that LeBron James violated the league's COVID protocols?
Yes.
Good.
I actually, before the show, I was reading up on that. Well, I mean, granted, it's not a sports show, but technically it has to do with world events, popular people, so it does fit. Yeah, he was. Drake was there also, and Michael B. Jordan, and they all were. I was because the weird thing about it is the first couple of articles I read about it, it's kind of murky on what the violation is that he did, and so finally, when I got down to reading it, it was about him not taking or not confirming if he had taken the vaccination or if he had a negative test. And so that's what I understand. Is that correct?
More or less, yeah. But you know, the funny thing about it was like throughout this entire NBA season this year and last year after the stoppage, right? When they right before they went in the bubble, anyone who broke protocols was fined, suspended. Now look, you have LeBron break protocols, but you know it's right at playoff time. Did you really think that they were going to suspend LeBron James for the first game of the 2021 playoffs? Hell no. So again, obviously, one, it shows that it's all about money, and two, that this shit was bullshit. Because if you were really so concerned about the possible spread of this amongst your team, you know, shouldn't you send a message and keep the dude away from the rest of the team, since
But
you
come
know
on.
everybody can have it?
But think about it. Would they have set Jordan down?
Of course
No.
not.
Would they have set
Come on, man. You know how
Kareem
much money
down?
these games make?
No. Would they have set Dr. J down? No. We know it's just certain athletes that they're kind of untouchable. I mean, it goes across different sports field. We can throw Brady in there too.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, but I just thought that was very interesting, and I like the timing of it. That you know, it happened right at playoffs, so it's kind of like, let's see if you're going to stick to your guns, right? You know, you've been pretty consistent all year, but now you switched it up. So, as we already knew, it was bullshit from the start, the whole protocol anyway.
I mean, yeah, but you don't get a completely reorganized society over something that, you know, kills 0.04 to 0.06% of the people that contract it, unless you do a lot of really crazy things that don't make sense, and unless you've got people like facing severe consequences for not jumping through ridiculous hoops. Like, if you don't oversell the danger, you can't get the emergency measures put forward. You can't get people used to the idea that emergency authorization is the exact same thing as a full workup of tests of you know, every phase of trials, you know, actual certification on authentication of what this thing is, you know. So it's got to be crazy. It's got to be confusing. It has to be. Otherwise, you'd have time to stop and think about it. And as soon as you do, you go, they're fucking lying to us.
Well, here's one thing which I don't think anybody really thinks about. The fact that this drug is not certified by the FDA and it has not went through the normal amount of clinical trials which most drugs have went through throughout the beginning of most of modern history on creating drugs and vaccines. This has not went through, and it's not even possible for you to do it because there's no way to test it out years in advance. So basically, in essence, what everybody's undertaking in is the largest test trial in world history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but of something that, according to the manufacturers themselves, is not a vaccine. Does not perform the functions.
And that's controversial to say to most people, right? You know, because they're asking you, you know, as I walk around places, you know, people asking, you know, oh, are you vaxxed? I really want to start asking them, are they on their period? I keep saying that, like, why you keep asking me these questions? Like, leave me alone.
I guess people are introducing themselves now as hi, I'm blah 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 vaccinated.
They might as well start a dating site for it.
But I'm gonna take a page out.
They were like dating sites are like, and to have a COVID policy and shit now.
And you heard what Franco was saying about his gym, right? That they're asking people to take to show their COVID vaccination negatives to be able to be in there without a mask. And you know it's going to come to a point where it's going to be required that you have it to be at the gym at all. Because
Mhm.
all we know how these things work. All it literally takes is one fucking Karen to come in there and get pissed off. And then new policy instantly. Oh, we see
That's
got
it.
Ali in the room. Want to
What's
make sure to
happening,
say
Allie?
hello to the co-host of Slow News Day, who's in the chat. Big shout out to her. What did she say there? Sorry, Mr. Marcus, but I'm looking forward to talking with you soon. Yes, for those who don't know, we hit it off last time when we were on the Frank analysis. Shout out to Franco. And we talked about, yeah, we got some definitely big issues to talk about, Great Reset, a couple of other things. So it's definitely going to be exciting. So look forward to that coming. You know, Ali will be coming to sit down with us soon.
Fucking fantastic. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Marcus,
I
you
mean,
just
I gotta
mentioned
get Lord over here too one of these times. You know what? Even better. We'll make sure to get Emmanuel too, but we can do some kind of collabo one of these days. Slow News Day, and you know the political matrix, and you know get all six of us together, you know, and just really go at a lot of fun topics. I'm sure it can get interesting.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, I know we're trying to do something in person in LA soon, and eventually Sam Tripoli is going to be doing live podcasts at the club that he runs above the Sycamore Tavern in Hollywood, the Comedy Dojo. Going to be so we're going to be a part of that rotation. I don't know the exact details of it yet. So be down like in that area at least once a month going
Funny,
forward for a
I'll
while.
be in Hollywood next week. Actually, I have a podcast that I'm going to be doing, and I'll put more details of that later on. But yeah, I'll be popping around in that area more often. So yeah, I'll definitely love to catch you guys. Sit down. You guys get to see me and Steve sitting down live with the crew.
that's right.
Oh yeah.
We need to get a plane ticket for Chris and Emmanuel. Get them out of here too.
Well, and not only that, but we're
So
gonna be like on the road. Hopefully this fall in general, we're gonna be doing like a mini tour of sorts. So, um, hopefully in states that don't have any weird papers, please, or face diaper rules.
Oh, how did I
well,
miss this one?
well, you know, I mean, you just know you have to avoid any states governed and controlled by the Democrats because that's what it's going to be. I can imagine California. I'm in Florida, right? So I would imagine you guys still have all kind of crazy restrictions, right?
Yeah, they haven't
Yeah,
even lifted the mask mandate. Then they won't until like the 15th.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
just
I
like
mean,
I went out to eat the other night, and we wear the mask to walk into the restaurant, and then sit down, and everybody has the mask off. Like makes no sense. Just to walk to the door to put it on and take it right off and sit next to each other. Oh boy.
yeah. It's the great. That's why I never bought into it. I go look. Let me tell you. I walk in everywhere. I never wear it. I know that offends a lot of people, and quite honestly, at this point, I give no. I have none left to give. Right, so I don't ever wear it. Like I'm not dead yet. Nobody around me is dead or dying, and that's not to make light of the people who got sick. You always gotta say that silly shit too, because everybody's so damn sensitive, right? But quite honestly, if we're being honest, like if you're scared of this, you fell for the propaganda. Like consider yourself a mark and you know they executed their plan on you flawlessly. So that setting, like how 9/11 set the tone for mass surveillance and you know the build up to the war on terror, etc., etc. This is setting the stage for more invasion, even a much larger invasion of privacy. You know, so and information turnover. It's just nuts, man. where are we going with this bullshit? And it's too bad too many people fell for it and they didn't catch it until too late. But like he said, the phase diaper states, you gotta avoid any place with Democrats right now.
I figure,
that's tough but
we
fair.
we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Israel-Palestine situation a little bit. They had 11 days of back and forth violence. For those in the audience, if you don't know the whole situation, which is going on, you should. Any Israelis will sit out there and try to tell you this is complicated. There's nothing complicated about this issue at all, especially up even to modern day. Basically, they are forcefully trying to push people off their land, and they're insulting them while they're praying in one of their most holiest sites. That's what's going on. And then that's where all the bombing and all this stuff goes to. They decided, okay, well, they killed a couple of Israelis, so we're going to try to kill, we're actually, I don't even look at it as just trying to kill Palestinians. They're like, we're going to try to destroy specific things, and we just don't give a damn who gets hurt. That's what it actually is.
You know what it's very reminiscent of? It's reminiscent of like early America when people would get when the people would come like on a Sunday to go witness a hanging, and how they would just kill people. The scenes coming out of Israel were very reminiscent to that. Like they were outside like rejoicing, happy that they were killing people with their, advanced military strikes. You know what I'm saying? In comparison to what, the Palestinians have. And they're cheering this shit on. Like Abby Martin did it. She had a show where she was walking around Israel and, amongst the people interviewed, their whole sentiment on the matter was like, well, you know what? We can't have peace with them, so you got to kill them. It's time for them to go. You can't do nothing with them. You just got to kill them. And that seems to be the mindset of a lot of the Israelis there. So like I said, it's kind of like early American, European ideology. Just we're witnessing in real time. This time it's not something we have to look back on to realize. We're watching it now, like real time recording it. And there's almost nothing can be done because, they got Suge Knight standing behind them, AKA the United States. So if you Tupac, you're gonna wild out if you got Suge Knight behind you, and that's to me how I look at the situation. They get to do what they want.
The best analogy though, because where's Suge Knight?
Correct.
Where is Suge Knight and where's Tupac? Is Tupac Israel in this analogy? Because that's kind of fucked up too, man. Like as a fan, that's a little fucked up. Yeah. I'm just saying, man. My spiritual advisor, Reverend Annie Chambers, was in Cuba with Asada Shakur. All right,
that's my girl.
Like talking about some award show. So like,
look, that got him awake, Marcus.
You got me fucked up, man. You do. You got me fucked up. But no, you're right. You're right though, because it's a settler colonial terrorist state that has like legal control of the territory, and they have written apartheid laws into their system of government. Like that's not me being hyperbolic. That is the Knesset voting to make Israel an apartheid state. That's correct. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when the United States made a big deal eventually about giving a shit about apartheid. Eventually. And I kind of feel well, in terms of how long South Africa was under apartheid as a law and where we are with Israel and Palestine, I kind of feel like it's about time to throw a concert. You know what I mean? Like and maybe a little bit of that is happening. However, I do know is that Beto O'Rourke and Bernie Sanders and a couple of other like key Democrats during the presidential primary were calling Benjamin Netanyahu a piece of shit and an asshole and this and that and the other. And it was okay to support the guy who was running against him, who's a former IDF general named Benny Gantz, who was also under investigation for war crimes in the ICC. And so it's possible that we're allowed to talk about Israel now because
now we
got a new puppet,
a little bit.
you know, that we want to get into.
Well, here's the thing. You're only allowed a little bit of leeway, right? So the most you're allowed to say, especially on networks, even shit like this, the most you're allowed to say is maybe that the Zionists went too far with their retaliation, right? Because it's always has to be, every report is Hamas shoots rockets into Jerusalem, and you know the Israeli government had to respond with force. It's always like that. Like you weren't over here slapping the shit out of me all this time. So now when I do hit you with a left hook, you mad, you know? So look, at the same time, unfortunately, I don't think they have much time left to rectify the situation. They're moving in both directions, right? They're destroying Gaza, and they're taking even more property and land in the West Bank too. So there's not so much left before they're out of there, locked up, killed, subjugated. I don't know. But Kelly, if hate against Palestinians is called anti-Semitism, that's the irony.
And I put that up for a specific reason. Since we got a good amount of people in here, and since I study the Bible intensively, it's time for people in here to stop. See, if these people are saying they're the people of the book, you got to stop lying, or you got to stop manipulating things. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let's see if it'll come in clear. You see that?
I could have pulled it up for you.
Pull it up for me.
I'll find it. But yeah, go ahead, keep talking.
The fact that Shem has, for one, Shem starts out having 5 sons. They start breaking down to a different line, and all of this. Basically, whether people believe in the Bible or not, a lot of our early fathers that they can find throughout history have their names coming from these different biblical tribes and areas. That's where you have modern day Palestine, which comes from the biblical days and back to original person, and so on and so forth. Well, what I'm saying is there is literally like 20 different nations that today would technically be Shemites. That means that is close to at least a third of the world are actually Shemites. So for one group out of like, let's say one group out of say, 100 nations decides that they're the only one that gets to claim the mantle of being Shem, and then use that as victimhood against other people, is what I'm talking about. That's shady. You see that right there? Now let's go down.
This is what you wanted, right? Okay.
Yeah. Pull down to the bottom. Now, keep going down a little bit more. Because
that's it.
Most people... Oh, okay. You can see a little bit. Most people... let me pull the comment down. Comment's probably blocking it. Okay, yeah. This is what I wanted to show you. Right here, all of these people are different nations. Now, people who don't even follow the Bible know Ishmaelites are Arabs. That's showing you Ishmaelites are Semites also. Palestinians, a lot of them are Ishmaelites. So they are Semites also. So what Israel is actually doing is being anti-Semitic to other Shemites. And then it's only anti-Semitism when it's against the Jewish population. But when they're doing the stuff to all of these other Semites, it's not anti-Semitism. And that's the big lie that they've been using as a and I watch all these high profile dictators and dignitaries from Israel, all anti-Semitism, and
but it's really just you just can't
Semitic people there are. and you use
what you can
that
do is,
as a shield.
yeah, of course, you
hide
can't say
as
anything.
victimhood.
That's why you have to make fun of their European, where they come. I just always tell them go back to Europe. I mean, some of them even from New York, Brooklyn. I knew some of them probably growing up, but they're not even from there. Not even. There's maybe 2 generations now born there, and most of them all come from the Caucasus Mountains area anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. We won't go there tonight. But and my thing is, I'm not anti-Jewish people, but I am anti-Zionist. I definitely am.
Correct,
because
Thomas.
You do not have the right to go and take anybody else's land. Now
Marcus, we all know that by saying that you're anti-Zionist, you're automatically anti-Semitic, right? That just means that you don't like Jewish people because you're anti-Zionist, because we live in a fucking cartoon where words don't mean anything unless they've been weaponized politically.
Double speak and all the rest of it.
Just like if I'm scared of a spider and I jump out of fear, that's arachnophobia. But if a person is anti-homosexuality, that is the same term. Now, you could just find a way to just say what things are. This person has a bigotry towards this. This person doesn't like that. This person doesn't agree with that. But when we start playing around with the words, everything gets all crazy and mixed around. And that's how some of these things are able to be used and misused when you start playing around with the words and then framing things however you want to frame them.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, look, I see Josh in the comment section say he's Jewish anti-Zionist. A lot of the Jewish people. A lot of the Jewish people I know actually have no love or support for Israel. Quite honestly, like they hate. They don't like Netanyahu or whoever governs over there anyway. So they're not really big fans, at least the ones I know anyway. But like anything else, there's a spectrum of people, and unfortunately, a lot of people with money and power here support them. So that's why we see them really able to get away with murder, literally, and in the media as well. It's just crazy. I mean, I've never seen another country come here and strong arm an American president, talk to Congress without clearing it with him first. A joint session. Like, who else can do that? Like, China gets a lot of money with us. You would think China has a little bit of sway here, right? But not them. They can't come here and do that. Netanyahu can come here and say, oh, and before I leave, give me all the money. I don't want installments.
Whoa, Josh. But, I mean, and I have so much respect for that. I mean, and that's the reason why, like one of the things I talked about with Ali, I said that I want people I want us to start breaking that wall and saying, hey, there is nothing wrong with being against Netanyahu and Gantz and what all of those people are pushing for harshly against, a population which cannot properly defend themselves and basically have no aid from anywhere else. That's who we're against. It's not. Some of my favorite movie directors and all that, which I found out recently, were Jewish. I have no beefs against any of those people, and I don't want people to, take this as an example to put Netanyahu and what the Israeli government is doing on all Jewish people as a whole.
Except for Gal Gadot, fuck her, because she actually served in the IDF.
Well, and did you see her comment also?
Yeah, I did. I quote tweeted that bitch, and I said the fucking Wonder Woman was such a fucking coward. She had to lock down the fucking replies to that thing.
Well, and if you watch that movie was so full of propaganda. Oh my gosh. I mean, one of these times I'm going to have to just start sitting down and breaking down some of these movies with you all so I can show you how they put this propaganda in there, how they lace different philosophies that they want to start pushing. And I mean, they basically took let's just say for intensive purpose, the Arab person, and made their wish to be able to destroy their enemies. Well, they made them be able to destroy their enemies, but make it backfire on them so it can be like, oh, you see the errors of your ways? You really need us. That's an encoded little message that they're throwing out there. And so it's just interesting how even on the big screen, they have no problem throwing in all their kind of political rhetoric. And Gal Gadot, I wouldn't be surprised if she still is attached to the Israeli government in some way.
I mean, we're still talking about Gal Gadot, right?
Yeah.
Because she quite literally served in the IDF.
Mm-hmm.
She was, I mean, that's, and look, the IDF, like the girls of the IDF and the IDF, like work team and shit. Like, I mean, some fine ass war criminals right there. Like, and if you could separate the art from the artist, you know, then it's watchable. But Wonder Woman as a film was just terrible.
Yes, it was terrible. I mean, it's kind of like I always fought that kind of battle, even in like I guess pop culture. Even before I got older to understand a lot of these world events, like think about like R. Kelly, for instance. R. Kelly, we all knew what was going on with R. Kelly even back in the day, but we had to like tell ourselves, I love the music. I don't have no problem. I mean, his business is his business. And then as you get a little older, you start realizing, that's not good enough once you realize the details of what was actually going on. And it is a lot more foul than it seemed like it was back then. And so I see that with a lot of these things. You got to straight up be able to tell yourself, okay, this is different than what you thought it was. You got to speak up at some point. And so, yeah, that's how I kind of see those same similar situations between Gal Gadot, if she did have talent, and somebody like even say Bill Cosby, if he really did do it, you know. Or you could say OJ. Well, OJ was a damn murderer, but he was a talented football. And if you could separate that, but you get what I'm saying? You can't. Just like the R. Kelly, you can't sell it. You can't separate the little girl stuff. You can't just be like, oh, he just has great music. You just can't separate it. You
He
know,
do
you
have
like,
hits, kid. You can't deny it. He got hits, kid. He got hits. I don't care what they say. That man got records, kid. And you laughing because you know it too. So does everybody.
No, I'm laughing because I will die on a fucking Michael Jackson ain't do that shit hill. I will, man. I will. I will fucking die on that hill. Fucking leave Mike alone.
That hill with shields together.
That man be dead. He ain't do that shit. Leave Mike alone. But like, but fuck R. Kelly. But like, I mean, and I don't know, dude. It's tough. It is. It is. You got. I mean, everybody's gonna be on some bullshit on that one because everybody's gonna have a little bit of bias. You know, you gotta if I fuck with you, like I'm definitely letting you keep some bias, right? Because I'm gonna expect you to do the same for me when I'm on some of my. I'm fucking screaming about the Chicago Blackhawks, even though I know sports are rigged as fuck. Like I let me have that shit, you know. The fucking Ed Mariana in the chat. She's fucking a fucking rock star, dude. Shout out to her. Absolutely, yeah, man. But go ahead, man.
No. It's just, you know, it is hard to separate, in especially in certain cases, right? But I assume I couldn't hear you before, but I figured you guys were talking about Gal Gadot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Miss Wonder Woman for Israel, right? Yeah, I know she's just ridiculous. I can't pay her any mind. I kind of tune her out and the rest of them. Brian said something interesting in the chat. He said they hate Cynthia McKinney because she speaks the truth. And Marcus, like I always say, you know, it's the Me Too era, right? listen to women, da da da. Listen to black women, right? Okay, so here's a black woman while we listen to her. Not that one.
I got called a racist in 2008 because I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I voted for some Irish bitch named Cynthia McKinney.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Damn!
wow!
Damn, yo! Damn! I see you put your hood on today, huh?
I'm pretty I can't remember if I told her that on camera or before we started that interview. But still one of my favorite, like couple of my favorite interviews since I've been doing this shit have involved Cynthia McKinney. She's my goddamn hero, dude. Like whenever I've since 2008, when I vote for president, I write her in because that's like the bar that I would have. Not that I necessarily like centralized government, but if we're gonna do it, it's actually a representative republic. I can't get that a shot. I want the person in charge to be an awful lot like her.
So let me ask you on the economic front, what do you guys think? Because starting in July, they're starting at $300 a month earned tax credit payment, right? Every month. So how do you think that's going to work? Aren't they giving money in California too?
What do you think, Steve? I don't know.
So there's a number of things that we need to kind of think about in correlation with this, and this does kind of seem like a little early intro UBI kind of situation that's coming along with Joe Biden saying we're going to get rid of the credit score. The credit score isn't going to be a thing anymore, when at the same time we've got
they're gonna do that right when my shit is perfect. Like, god damn it.
I'm letting mine go to shit right now.
No, my shit is good.
I'm kidding. I'll still get fucked over if I do that. Anyway, but I mean, there's also like currently a big push for like the digital or the stable coin to put like all money on the blockchain, but have it as a US issued fiat currency crypto coin. And so I would imagine that if not this year, next year, that $300 or whatever it looks like is going to be issued to you in a centralized cryptocurrency, and it's going to be tied to your social credit score.
Along with the vaccination record and the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the stories are going to
affect your social credit score.
Correct. Yeah. The stories are going to come out soon. You see where they'll be talking and complaining about the fake vaccine cards, right? People are presenting exactly. You can already hear the stupid ass newscast. How do you know if you got a real card or not? Like, how to spot a fraud coming up at 10. And then they give you a bullshit commercial. But
you know what that's for, right? You know how what that propaganda is used for, right?
Correct. Now
I'll explain it real quick for the audience so they can understand what we're talking about here. What they're doing when they do that stuff is when they talk about, we'll show you how to spot this and spot that. They're getting you ready to spot the problem that'll have it once you already have it, to get you past the fact of even thinking about getting it in the first place. It's just to get your mind on already having it.
So what they're going to... No, I was just going to say, all of this shit is moving to a digitized system one way or the other. If you see the Amazon Move, I think it's called Amazon Move. I can't remember if that's the name of it, but they got that shit there where you pay with your hand. You put your hand over the thing and, you make your payment. They're going to put all of your ID on, all of your identification on devices like those. And whether it comes in the form of a vaccine or, you sign up to go get this new tech that comes out if they decide to sell it that way, right? Either way, that's where we're going. And that money is going to be tied into everything along with your social credit score, like homie just said. So, you better behave yourself. Wear your face mask.
Well, you already know that they like we did that video not that long ago where in I think what was it, Spain or Denmark, one of those places where it's already an option for you to be able to get all of your records, mortgage, keys, all that stuff on that chip that they insert. And so they already have that for the RFID chip and it's voluntary. And so I just think it's a matter of time before that starts spreading out more and more and more. And then that way they'll just be able to add everything on it and also have a way to track you at all times. Also,
What do you think Starlink is? Elon Musk's global satellite network. What do you think the Internet of Things is? You know, I'm people like the limited hangout on 5G is that it's causing the coronavirus, and there's no coronavirus because it's 5G. Well, you don't have to go like way off the fucking rails with 5G to realize that what we're going to have to do in order to acquire the raw materials to power that, to make that a permanent global thing until 6G, because that's coming, you know. Just the acquisition of those raw materials and the amount of war and bodies and gross complete violations of earth nature and everything resultant from it that's going to have to take place in order to generate that power. That alone is enough to resist it. Can we fucking start there? Like, just with that, you know, and then we'll get on to some fucking lizard people shit and some fucking nanobot. Like, then we can, but let's at least start there, right?
right.
Seriously. But you know, that's what climate change is going to be about. Like, you know, they tell us about cars and plants. We make more carbon than anything, right? We heat up shit more than anything. So their big plan for climate change is they're going to be erase a certain number of us from the planet. And you can see they do it in multiple ways all the time. You know, people just think of these things in terms of movies, in terms of a big event that happens, like a big nuclear bomb, but you know, they get rid of one group with pills over here. You know, you got your alcoholics here. You know, you got the homeless here. You send those people to war. You send some to prison. You shoot some in the street. So they're basically doing it. They're just going to accelerate the program. And those who are left are going to have to play with the system, or you're going to have to resist. I just wonder what the resistance is going to look like.
Look who got taken out over COVID. You know, the vast majority of everyone who died over 70. You don't have to, you know, I'd be caring for the elderly costs a lot. Social Security, gotta pay any of that out. On top of that, 78% of the people who contracted COVID, period, overweight. Not supposed to talk about that, but it's in the studies. It's, you know, undeniable. Again, costs a lot of money to take care of medical problems like that. If you're selling the narrative that the human being is filthy and the human being is wrong and the human being is dumb and the human being has not been a good steward of the planet, rather than the predator class in pursuit of asymmetrical superiority of warfare and the acquisition of resources and the exploitation of people in order to acquire them, has resulted in extreme mismanagement of the planet and incredibly poor stewardship and an abuse of the power that, in all reality, they likely stole. You know, as long as you forget that last bit. And make us think that it's our fault, then you can get us on board for some carbon tax bullshit. You can get us on board for some Great Reset bullshit, some Green New Deal bullshit. You can get people so fucking angry that regular human beings contributed to this mess rather than were propagandized to be more and better and greedier and like just all-encompassing consumers and seek the complete commodification of nature. You get away with the complete commodification of nature. And that includes us, the human being, because we are also part of nature.
I mean, what did Gates say at one of his meetings several years ago? He said, you know, it costs millions to take care of a life at, you know, a certain age, right? When they're in hospice, nursing home. Can't remember the number he gave, right? But he said something to the effect of, it takes a long time to, you know, it gets very expensive to take care of grandma, right? We extend their life through our medicine, etc. If we let her go, we can hire 10 more teachers. So, you know, he explained it like that. So you would be like, well, if grandma has to go, she lived her life. We can hire 10 more teachers. So it's kind of okay. But, you know, you could just see how people are manipulated into like doing the worst to each other. And they get really no gain out of it either. That's the irony of the situation.
Well, and it's all on some... Oh, go ahead, man.
Okay, I wanted to add something real quick to something you were saying earlier. We started looking at all these different consequences with all the materials which they need with the 5G going into 6G, because we talked about this last week, ironically enough, about the 6G was coming up. And a lot of people were like, we just got 5G. And it's like, no, 6G is in the works. Trust it is. And so talking about those raw materials, I remember when we were all fighting, you know, and protesting and everything for Evo Morales, what was going on in Bolivia. And we often don't think about that their number one main resource, and it's like one of the most rich areas for
lithium.
Or lithium. Yeah. And so that's the reason why part of that government went down. The same reason why Venezuela is always having problems, because of the deep crude oil. And if you know about what's going on with the oil in the Gulf of Mexico, it's actually starting to dry up. And those oil rigs, you just can't take them and just move them around to any oil rigs. You have to have specific types of oil for those rigs. And so since they're so expensive, it's easier for them to find the country to go to, and that being the country with the most of that crude oil, that's where they want to go. Well, outside of Canada, they're the most. So, yeah, that's just what I want to add. When we'll notice these things, we don't realize exactly why the United States is fucking with these countries. We just know they are fucking with these countries. But now when we look back, we're able to see, this is why. Because these telecommunication companies, if you do the research, you'll see they're the ones who are tied in with all the people who were donating to all the same politicians who were involved with fucking with these elections.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it goes a little bit beyond that too, because campaigns are international now. Like politics are international now. The new global governance, as Klaus Schwab calls it, is a reality. And he was, as a matter of fact. Big shout out to Shadowhead Refugee. Fucking love that motherfucker.
Yeah, I got a lot of love for him too.
But I mean, yeah, no, and I mean, and he's absolutely right. There's written into the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act is basically a declaration of the desire for, again, asymmetric superiority over the rare earth mineral race, and what yeah, and so does North Korea, homie. Like,
don't forget they got the poppy out there too.
But so that's more, according to John Kiriakou, that's more to as a soft way to destabilize Iran and Russia with the opium production out of Afghanistan.
Well, you know, it's not ironic. You know, if we check the timeline, right? our entry into Afghanistan, shortly thereafter, I started seeing people become zombies off these pills. And what is the source of most of those pills? So it just seemed as if it had, as usual, their agenda had many different
Oh
aspects
yeah,
to it, because it turned
as a
into zombie
veteran,
land. I was in the west
yeah,
coast of Florida, and people didn't have any teeth behind pills mainly. It was crazy.
oh yeah. I wanted to say it was definitely multifaceted as a veteran, seeing like all the different multinational companies which were coming in, from oil to defense companies to everything, pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, I mean, everybody was getting their hands in the cookie jar when they could.
So
And the
that's
money doesn't leave the room.
But you
Like
know
it
what's funny?
doesn't.
The money. Sorry, cut you off. The money though is just a tool, because the money is to make sure that middle management, as you referenced earlier in the show, that's to make sure they stay in place, right? So um, that's what they need the money for, because they already have everything they want, they need. They have shit on everybody. So uh, the 0.001%, they just need to make it to pass it out to the people so that they can carry out their agenda. Perfect example. Think about hospitals during the last year and their reporting on COVID, right? All of them said they had to deal with all these patients, et cetera, et cetera. But you come to find out they were paid to take on these people. Why would you ever classify a patient as not having corona if it means you taking less money? So there's an incentive there to continue the bullshit that they running from the top. And unfortunately, we all value markets. You hear me say all the time. Since our number one value is money, unfortunately, we're here for a minute.
Dude, my good friend Teddy, Tedros, speaker, he
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be
he's
doing an
been
interview with
going
him.
deep on this, and I don't even know where I was going because I got lost in that comment. But anyway, shout out to Ted. But yeah, I mean, it's yes, dude. Uh, I mean, using heroin to destabilize. Because again, dude, I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of the U.S.'s pharmaceutical heroin comes from like Burma, and comes from like Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, like that, those India, China, shit like that. I'm pretty sure that's where the US pharmaceutically is getting the vast majority of its heroin based products. It was early 90s or mid 90s, I think, when Oxycontin was introduced to the public writ large, and it took
Mid
about
90s.
a decade for it to really catch hold. But I mean, I graduated high school in 96. I really, really clearly remember my junior year in high school. I was working at a Ruby Tuesdays, fucking shithole, and we had there was like a 43-year-old waitress who, even if she didn't have a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, she had a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. You know what I mean? Like that type of lady. The fucking go fuck yourself, kid. You know, like
You want
that.
a coffee?
My name is Mary. Like that. You know, I take your order. Like, all right,
George Burns with a wig.
but I had really good weed, and she had a fucking pharmacy. And like, so all the fucking kids in my high school were pillheads. I was eating some at that point. I wasn't eating a lot yet. And so like I started fucking, slinging a few pills and fucking getting different pills and shit like that. And by the time like 1995 was in full swing, fucking my homeboy knew a dude who fucking drove the truck for Eli Lilly. and we had in our lockers, yo, I'm fucking hand to God on this shit, like bags of thousands of Xanaxes and fucking Valiums and shit. Like, bro, it was bad.
Oof. I
Yeah,
can imagine. I can
yeah.
imagine. You know what? But thank God you didn't have social media, because they would have caught some real nasty shit online, right? So thank
We are
goodness.
so lucky they didn't have social media.
Shit. I
Oh my
mean,
God. I'm telling you, I'm so glad I missed that
Hopefully
era, kid. Like, is it bad enough now? Right? But imagine being like 14, 15, 13. Oh my God, that'd be the worst. I'm so glad I missed that. Like, I remember
teenagers, dude. I have teenagers, and I'm like, no, dude, you got, if you got to remember that you're being spied on 100% of the time. Stevie!
Yeah, see, Stevie's in the chat. I wanted to make sure to say hello. And one of these times we'll have to get her on here too.
Stevie, hop fuck in. Dude, Stevie's a badass. She is. And fucking her husband got both of his channels taken away at the same time. Like, but Montauk lost both of, like,
what were the topics? Was it Israel
or medical misinformation or hate speech or some shit? I don't think, like, whatever. Dude, YouTube, they don't even, they're not consistent in their reasoning in the first place. And then, like, with my friend Ryan Christian, Last American Vagabond, they put up on, when you click on the video, it says YouTube removed this video because it's too long. Then you go into the creator studio and it's like medical misinformation or something like that. And it wasn't even his channel. It was one of the channels that does pirate streams. They gave like 3 arbitrary strikes to the videos at once to yeet the fucking channel. And like, it's not really stopping Ryan, God bless him. And when YouTube, as of June 1st coming up, YouTube can remove any channel that they deem not commercially viable.
I mean, they told us it was coming.
That's what we talked about. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
Put in the chat earlier about us possibly getting on the Rockfin, and that's
and at least get this shit backed up on Odyssey and get on Odyssey.
Or,
do that.
You might see us going on to Odyssey soon, because we are just waiting. We know it's coming one of these days, and so that's the reason why we don't really give a shit anyway. I mean, we say whatever we're going to say, and we look at it like this. What the hell can we do to anybody? All we're doing is speaking. If what we say makes you that fucking scared, then obviously you need to check out what's going on with you. You're the one with the wealth, the power. You control the airways, all of that. All I have
But that's what it is.
All I do is research. That's it. Tell information. If you're that so fucking scared of it, then why don't you come up with better information? Or just let me be, because obviously I'm just talking horse shit and nobody's going to listen to me, right?
That's what it is. But you know, they need total control of the narrative, and they cannot allow for people to get too big. You even see that he mentioned Vagabond. Like, you see, my man was on there giving facts, just spitting facts. You know what I'm saying? Like a machine. And of course, they kept dinging him until they got rid of him. And there was no propaganda. There was no telling people to go drink bleach, right? He didn't say go shoot up your government office and nothing like that. He's just like, hey, this is what's happening. Check out this paperwork. You know, check it out for yourself. And, you know, make your own determination at that point. But you can't even allow that. They will not.
Do you remember why Trump got yanked off of Twitter and social media? Do you remember what the exact fucking tweets were?
No, I don't.
It was, hey, you guys need to calm the fuck down out there. What the fuck are you doing? Yo, man. Hey, back up off of that shit. And so they fucking yanked him from social media, period, fucking point blank. And when Donald Trump was removed for inciting violence.
look, that whole shit was such a bad shit show. Like,
I was
and
there.
now they're making it seem like it was the worst thing that ever happened. I swear to God, like you just talk to some of these people. I'm sorry, I got to go at them, but the Democrats, you talk to them about that day, and you would swear like they, like I really want to ask them, have you seen violence in your life? Because that just looked like a pep rally. Look, they do worse in Philly and Colorado after the Eagles or the fucking Broncos win the Super Bowl. They go worse there. They do more wild shit there than they did at the
Granted,
Capitol.
it's not at the U.S. Capitol inside the sacred space. You heard that guy.
And here's another thing we got to keep in mind. Not too long right before that, you had the protests that were going on at the Capitol, right? Remember this? And then Trump decides he needs to go over to this cathedral to have a photo op. How many fucking cops were there then?
All right, I'll do you one better. Because remember how when I was talking about how we were all hanging out in DC, it was, Action for Assange and Nico and Convo Couch, Franco. So that was January 3rd and 4th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was originally supposed to fly home on January 5th, and we had planned all this shit out way before that event was ever announced. And when it was, I was like, well, I'm changing my flight. This is gonna be a fucking shit show, and I just know it. So because we didn't have a horse in the race, on the morning of January 6th, Andrew Smith, my co-organizer over there at Action for Assange, we went down to the Lips and saw pasta on a ridiculous blue jacket, and my good friend Jason Burmis, and we were hanging out and shooting the shit at the backpack pile right before the like human cattle gate, and that like led all the way over into the people staging area at the Ellipse. Left during Trump's speech, like heard him not incite violence, but in fact, like more or less read off the flyer and tell people where they were supposed to go. Andrew had to go check in with work. We went back to the Airbnb for a little bit, got fucking started getting blown up when like tear gas started going off. So we fucking grabbed our shit, raced back down. And we got up onto the Capitol steps. On the back end, not the end where they had the like breach or whatever, but on the opposite end, that was facing the Washington Monument, not the Supreme Court. And there were people that were like reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
And in general,
their pocket constitutions and shit.
Like it was in fact, in that morning, we were describing it as like lame, kind of day drunk Woodstock, right? It's like
it reminds me of the Occupy
look,
protest.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. You hate Nancy Pelosi so bad. You were in her office. Nobody shit on her desk. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't piss all on her couch. I'm just saying for the people who got in as far as they did, who are so upset with government, they damn sure didn't go in there and destroy shit as much as they could. Now, if we sent boys in the hood in there, like they would have torn that shit up. Like there'd have been nothing left. So that's why I just find
I'm sorry. This is what I meant to say though, because the fourth and the third and the fourth, maybe second and third and fourth. Yeah, second, third, and fourth was the forced to vote stuff. I think either the first day or the second day. The first day, people were trying to speak on the front steps at one of the office buildings, literally across the street from the Capitol. And just Capitol Police swarmed up. Fucking Franco was up there. He had his shit written out. He's trying to talk. I don't know if it was the first time he spoke at a protest or not, but he was prepared, man. And fucking, he's up there and he's saying his shit, and a Capitol Police officer starts walking up like a couple of steps towards him, but he's like, "It's the white dude over there. He's the organizer," and goes right back to reading his shit. And it was fucking beautiful, dude. It was great. And then like the next day, we're down the block, but still Capitol Police jurisdiction, different office building, the one the AOC is supposed to go in. They marched a bunch of black families right by us because there was supposed to be some fucking virtue signaling historic bullshit going on inside. So they had this staged presentation right in front of a protest. And then all of a sudden we're horseshoed in by the Capitol Police. And there are 40 or 50 of us. There are double the amount of Capitol Police surrounding us. They got the snatch vans like 30 yards away, and fucking it's a handful of like people who genuinely think that they were going to pressure AOC to not fucking vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House without demanding a flood. There's legitimately, there's like a couple dozen people that thought that. And then there's like people that were there for like our Assange thing because we were going to support it. And there were people who were there to speak that were like, yeah, kid, I'll help you out. You know, I appreciate your spirit, son. You know, let's say some good words about this shit, you know, and like, and that's how it went, you know, but still double cops. And again, same cops. And I know how many cops were there. Like December 10th, I think, when there was another Trump rally that got a little weird. And there were fucking, I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And literally before that fucking January 6th shit. And I'm sorry, and I'll let you guys go. I was like, but I right before that there was that corona relief package that Trump initially vetoed and then turned around and was like, okay, yeah, no, but I'm doing it just so you guys get some fucking checks, right? Remember that one? The $600 or whatever that Joe Biden got to point to and be like, yeah, that's part of the $2,000 I told you about. Yeah, that's $600. Tucked in there was a significant amount of money. Several tens of $1 million for refurbishing, upkeep, repair of the interior and exterior and grounds around the U.S. Capitol building. Like $80 billion, almost $100 million, if my memory serves.
Not bad. I mean, look, in addition to in staying on that day, right, and the whole narrative around it, like I said, the lack of destruction, the lack of weapons. Like if you had told me you would have found like hundreds of weapons, and look, you know anything about these conservatives, especially those people, what do they love? They love their guns. If they were going to DC to cause problems, they would be strapped to the fucking core. Okay, they're not playing around. So when you tell me that, and when I look at the TV on their own networks, and you see a bunch of middle-aged, overweight, you know, people who look like they're going to be tired by 8:30 at night, right? They're going to be ready to hit the hotel. You know, like, they're not out there to try to take over the government, but, you know, again, as usual, the masses are the asses. So they fall for AOC's little diatribe where she's crying and she was in fear for her life. So now we're going to really get Patriot Act 2.0, as somebody said in the comments. Like, all that shit was set up for it. And then also, too, you know, I know this is super controversial, too, but Marcus, you know, I don't get no fucks. You know, again, they just don't want any discussion of the election either, because we know there's some funny money shit there, too. And, you know, neither of them are my guys. So, and I don't care. But, look, I'm calling a spade, kid. I played dominoes, some counting cards on the board. That shit didn't look right to me. You know what happened. So they wanted to kill all of that altogether. So that's where we are right now. Of course. You see her now, she's like, oh, I can't walk down the street. But she looked real good now too. You notice the better she looked, the more her hair be pressed, and her makeup is done immaculately. Now, the more bullshit she spits, right? Just like Cori Bush, same thing. Her hair ain't as nappy no more. Her shit straight now, right? She got her perm. She look good now, and she sounds just like them. So full of shit.
Man, do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how much trouble I'm gonna get in if I even laugh at that hilarious shit, dude?
Just laugh. You're supposed to laugh. You're supposed to laugh, man. Shit. Yo, we not sensitive over here, man.
Bro, you're not. I mean, but you're not wrong, dude. And they did that like
they got a certain
Bring Down
shine.
the House documentary or whatever, where they all had fucking professional branding and shit, and like people thought that this was genuine. I used to get so much shit when I would tell people the squad is there not to wrestle power away from Nancy Pelosi, but to inherit it. Like that's their job, dude. They're supposed to get a whole new generation of progressives who are shit libs in training wheels.
And if it's not to take power, not to be next in line, right? It is also to get the people to remain within the Democratic Party camp, right? Because you look at them, they look young, they look good, they talk like, they talk like us. We can speak the same language, so to speak, right?
They got mean game.
Correct. Now, when you look across the hall and you see just a bunch of old white guys in the representatives in the government for the Republican Party, it makes most people say, oh, they just must be the old racist guys. I'm going to stay over here because they have to be better. But, they're all on the same fucking team. And the faster people realize that, the better off we are.
That reminds me of a funny story from boot camp. When most of the people get in there, they don't have bank accounts. So at the time when I went in, there were two banks at Great Lakes. You had either Great Lakes Credit Union or you had Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal Credit Union came in first. They were like 3 or 4 young, attractive-looking women, all made up, walking in front of a bunch of guys who have not seen a woman in a month, and then talking to them about business. When you're young, that doesn't seem too dodgy. But now looking back at it, that's extremely dodgy as hell. They bring them in. Most of the guys go for that one. The second one, Great Lakes, comes in. It's all these like older soccer mom looking women. And for me, they seemed a little bit more trustworthy. I went with that one instead of going with the flashy looking pretty women. And that bank, about a year after I got out of boot camp, got shut down for embezzling and fraud and taken out of literal active duty military paychecks. And so that's what you got to be careful with those shiny objects sometimes. Now in this system, you're fucked either way, but in that situation, that's all I'm saying.
But going back to it, they're making this big thing, and I don't know they're having more hearings on January 6th. I don't even know what else you need to hear about it. Just watch the video. And all these people died, and in this era of social media and cameras, we didn't see anybody else die besides the girl who got shot. And, that whole lie about the dude who got his head beat with the fire extinguisher, that turned out to be a lie. And they were all mentioned that during their hearing. So they playing people left and right. And, I tried saying this to people in real life offline. Some of them look at me like I'm crazy. Or, of course, they would just say I'm too right-wing, which is crazy to me. If anybody who really knows me know that shit is nuts. So it's hard to say shit to people.
They stole our friend's footage and tried to use that to blame those other two dudes that were like, get the bear mace. That was Convo Couch's footage.
Or Convo.
Wow.
Yeah. Had their fucking watermark on it. And that was a giant misdirect too. Because as far as I know to this day, no like investigative body has ever contacted them about that.
Didn't they like ban them or something like right after it too? Like they took it and then did some kind of suspension, something.
So what happened? Because this is how it went down. The Capitol thing happened. We got back. We started having like multi-person panels of people who had been there, you know, trying to, because I can only speak to what I saw and what, you know, verify what we got on camera. Same with Convo Couch. They were at a different spot. Same with Burmis. He was at a different spot. Same with a handful of other people that were there that didn't have a fucking horse in the race, that were just there to like witness a fucking psychological operation go down in real fucking time. We had fucking cameras out, you know? So we're trying to piece this together. And then AOC comes out with that I was murdered bullshit, right? And fucking, and then like tells her fucking little bitch ass army to like go turn into fucking
snitching everybody to become snitches.
So
and that's what they're doing now. That shit is cool.
Immediately the day after she sent that email out, go report anyone who is trying to say that this was nothing other than a fucking full-on right-wing fucking coup. Go report them. Convo Couch got taken out. Franco got taken out. Nico got taken out. We hadn't monetized a video in over a year at that point, because every time we put one out, YouTube would demonetize it. Every single time. And YouTube still gets to run ads on your demonetized shit. They still get to fucking make money off of it, but you don't. So at a certain point, like several months back, I just turned off monetization on everything. Like, I'll take a super chat. Sure, YouTube skims 30-40%. It fucking sucks, but that's still better than having people sit through an ad, you know? I would people support the show on Rockfin or fucking just straight PayPal us or some shit, but like it, you know, it is what it is. We're getting kicked off of YouTube anyway because we're not commercially viable.
And you know, on a like on our level, right? It was real nasty because of the psychological thing they did, right? They made it seem like, and it was only racist rednecks who ran up in there. And because when you watch the shows with the police officers, it's always a black cop, right? And they always break it down like, here's Sean. He woke up this morning thinking he was going to be good at work. And the rabid Trump supporters came to almost kill him. He defended our country bravely. Like, you playing with people and you making people really feel like, you know, there's some white and black shit when it really had nothing to do with that at all. So that's the real nasty component that they play in there to keep the masses more divided along the same old bullshit color lines. So that's something that, you know, people have to be aware of too. Because, like, you know, in all honesty, I talk to black folks, you know, some of my peoples, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, they just want to hurt us all. You know, they just want to do us all. And you just got to kind of pull them back a little bit and say, like, yeah, there's some people who want to cause you harm, but there's a lot of people who look like you who want to cause you harm too. You know what I'm saying? So we can't lose sight of that fact and get too crazy thinking that it's all, you know, about colors.
Yeah, I wanted to share Stevie's comment here. I completely understand her sentiments. It says, I kept all my vids demonetized to help stay under the censorship radar, but Mana wasn't either, and they blighted his content. Yeah, I mean, the same thing. They slow the algorithm. They do all kind of stuff on mine. I mean, I'll literally have a video that'll have 500, 600 views, and then my next video gets 8. I mean, how is that even possible? And I have many of my regular, you know, people who tune into my videos and channels over my multiple channels. They'll say I'm not getting notifications at all, and I'll even do it a day in advance, and they still don't get the notification. So I understand. It seems like no matter which kind of solutions we try to come up with to try to avoid or figure a way around this, seems like as long as YouTube is the method that we're in, it's always going to be this fuckery that we're having to deal with. Oh,
diversify.
Shit, I see Franco's in the house. Hey, brother, how we doing?
Franco, it is good to see you, my friend.
He's getting a lot of love in the chat also. Mona's getting a little upset with you. She needs to hear some love too. One of your main moderators, and Mona's like literally she's like
Mona,
everybody's moderator.
but I love you so much. I share my tech ninja with you. That's how much I love. Do you need me? Do you really need me to? Do you already know? You already know, Mona. You do. You do. Time you get up on that fucking angry Prussian techno wizard. That's love, dude. That's love. It is.
Yeah, well, it's just there's a bunch of shit that happened behind that day, So it's hard trying to point out things to certain people because they're so like the brainwash is so deep rooted in some people. I just realized this notion of trying to save everybody is going to get you killed, right? So just take care of those you can. You cannot save the world, and do not make the attempt because you will ultimately fail and you're going to drive yourself crazy and find yourself by yourself on the street. So the best thing you could do is, take care of those who you can take care of, and that's it,
Well, I mean, I always keep the mindset like this: you help who you can help. And so, if somebody wants to try to build with you, try to work with you, and try to find solutions, and they're coming from a sincere place, then you try to work with them. If they don't, middle fingers up. I mean, Malcolm X, he said it a little bit more elegantly than I did, but I mean, if you can't, hey, if people want to deal and they want to try to work on something and build something positively, then hey, you should feel obligated to do it. Not maybe. You should feel obligated, especially if you're on the same accord. But if they're not on the accord with you, fuck them.
Yeah, and you don't have to be, that doesn't mean like go the opposite route, right? And try to hurt people, right? You don't have, you shouldn't do that. I don't advocate that at all. But, the days of the Walking Dead are among us, you know what I'm saying? You better sharpen your blades, though.
Well, I mean, I think those days will come eventually. I mean, but that's a whole another interesting topic. We got to have Steve in for that because I was watching a live stream the other night, and you guys start talking about UFOs, and I was like, I want to weigh in, but I'll leave it alone for now because UFOs, that can be a fun topic.
Well, this is the other thing, man. Like, and I was kidding. I was kidding. When I put the tweet out, but then, and like this shit kind of happens, dude. We're all joke about some shit, and then it's like.
It's like reality says, "Pow!" Ha.
So what I said was, like I'm not saying for certain that like the permissible criticism of Israel is because we're like about to have some Project Bluebeam shit go down and usher in the Antichrist and the new global governance and all that shit. Like I'm not saying that is why we get to do it, but that shit happens. Like I said that shit, right? But like, but then you look at all the disclosure stuff. Even going back a couple of years, this is what we were talking about on the show. Like, there's been the seeding of the narrative, really since like 50, 60, 70 years. But I mean, really, like it's 2017 and on, we've had this heavy seeding of the narrative about disclosure, and I'll watch shit out of that show.
I think I'll definitely do one of those.
But here's the thing. It's funny. Their cameras can catch me sell my homie, a bag on the corner, right? And they'll take that to court, right? But all these UFO shots, they're always cloudy as shit. They never get nothing. It's like a light moving on a piece of paper real fast. So I think I need to see a little bit more before I'm convinced that.
Well, I know some people are hesitant, And I know this is like one of, and surprisingly, audience, this is one of
Pickaxe,
those
bro.
areas where me and my brother Chris are a little bit
Lead me
different on
into
this
this.
one. This is where it's a little difference here. I mean, I was always one of those kids who was like watching every episode of the X-Files, and I was like, this shit is happening. This is real. It
I
is happening.
believe.
I believe. And so as I got a little older, I was like, I don't know about the aliens thing, maybe some kind of technology, this and that. But I was like, there's no way there can be all of these planets and galaxies, and we're literally the only civilization. That just couldn't compute in my brain. And so as I started looking at more things and researched, I looked at the origin of a lot of this alien stuff that's been going on and when it's been happening. And if you go outside of the United States, some of these other countries, they're a little bit more open to talk about their interactions that they allege to have happened. For instance, Iran actually says that a couple of their planes were shot down by UFOs. And to this day, they still swear that the technology is way supersedes. So it's not like, oh no, it was a new F-35 that hit them, and now no, it wasn't no situation like that. This was something that was far more technologically advanced. And then the what's come about where a lot of this information has started coming out all of a sudden is Harry Reid, believe it or not, was like a big like UFO nut. Well, I can't remember what his name is. One of the senators from Alaska. He reported an actual UFO incident while
Ted
he was
Stevens.
in the Air Force. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And they pushed and pushed, and they put a bill in, $22 million bill to start I guess what a certain wing or cabinet or whatever to investigate and go through all of these things. The guy they put in charge, he didn't buy any of this stuff, but he's like, hey, I'll take the position. It's a raise. I might make a bunch of extra money. Why not? As he started going through these Pentagon files, Harry Reid, while he was Speaker of the House, he kept just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And so the Pentagon got forced to start releasing this information. And so the reason why some of this stuff is coming out blurry is they have to release it. It doesn't say what quality they have to give it to you in. Doesn't say how long of snippets they have to give to you either. Doesn't say if they have to give it to you all at once or drag it all out. So that's the reason why you're getting it all in kind of all these weird, weird accessibility, and why some stuff is clear, some stuff's not. I mean, when I was in the Navy, I heard pilots talk about seeing all kind of stuff they never could explain, for years. So I knew they were seeing stuff, but there was never any kind of, because the stuff which they see up there is classified until it's like released to the public and watching all that shit. So they couldn't show me anyway, but they talked about this kind of stuff. So I never doubted, those men that what they were seeing.
Well, remember, we're not going to know anything because the aliens, when they came down, they're only talking to Israel and the United States, right? Isn't that what they put out in the news the other day? A couple weeks ago?
But here's the funny thing, though. Under my beliefs, and for those who don't know, under my beliefs, the Bible does speak of chariots. And
Chariots in the sky, yeah.
And it describes them like a wheel inside of a wheel. I mean, if you were looking at that could be like some kind of propeller type motor inside of this device. And this is what like the prophets are. You got to remember, back in these ancient days, they didn't have any kind of technology like that. So all you can do is to describe it as the shit that you know around you. You didn't have cars. They didn't have things. So all you can call it is a chariot. I mean, that's the biggest thing that they saw people ride around in. And if you talk about a chariot in the sky, like I remember one thing I used to find extremely interesting. If you look at most slave movies, you'll see them all singing this song. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Now, at that time when a lot of them were singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, there were no flying devices. There were nothing any of us were flying around with. That was way before the Wright brothers. And that was before most people knew about Da Vinci's ideas about flight. So explain that one there, people.
You know, I've been thinking that too. Like maybe there's like a higher intelligent, you know, species out there, and they just sitting down looking at us like every day, you know, like they eating their sandwich on their lunch break, just watching the episode of Humans We Dumbasses. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and then I did throw out like if it was actually aliens. This was my alien theory that like Earth, what it is Earth is like a zoo, and they just like bring their kids and they fly by and they're like, oh, look at the humans, and we help them build this thing over there, and look at these idiots over there wallowing in dirt, and so they just probably just fly by and just show and look at us kind of like when we go to the zoo and we look at the monkeys and the cheetahs,
And they only
you know,
and you know it's very ironic too. They only reveal themselves to military cameras, at least most of the time, right? So
that's the reason why
because
I say it leans more towards my narrative, because the biblical narrative of these chariots is these chariots are coming and it's not for peace. And if they're around the military, it could be just like, oh, let's just test these motherfuckers out. Let's see if their planes have gotten advanced enough yet.
But okay, how about this though? Because military cameras capture it, because military cameras dominate that landscape. There's only recently been a push for the privatization of space outside of satellite technology, but that is limited and doesn't take pictures. Now, there's a huge push for the complete militarization of space. That's what the acceleration of
Space Force is about.
is. Yeah, 100%. And so you're
That don't
only
make you think of
going to get
Spaceballs. That don't make you think of Spaceballs with Rick Moranis.
Well, that's
Like
what
when you
I
think of
it made me
Spaceballs.
think of oh god damn it, I'm fucked up on this. Oh god damn it. Like but fuck, dude. Whatever movie where they're fucking like, I'm doing my part, like that fucking movie.
I think it's and they were in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Spaceballs, right?
No. The Spaceballs was Mel Brooks. That was like
Mel
Rick
Brooks.
Moranis
Yeah.
was dark helmet and shit.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
somebody in the chat's gonna know and they're gonna be all fucking mad at me and shit. Like, why didn't you remember the name of that fuck? Because I'm high. I'm high and I'm tired.
Right? Like,
aren't
and
those
look,
the best conversations though? I mean, think about it. When we're off camera, what did most of us do? Like after we get off work and stuff, meet up with your buddies, sit and either you grab your drink, you grab your smoke. You normally put on either a good ass movie and blare it up really loud, or music and you just talk shit. And so, I mean, it's no different than with us content creators. I mean, we're batting around all these different ideas, and we talk about other stuff that's not as important as all the crazy events going on. We think about this shit too.
look, Kelly said they're here, they're assimilated, and they're enslaved us. Stargate told us about it. Like, I'm pretty true, but I'm sure that, look, I'm sure that,
Starship Troopers, I think.
Starship Trooper. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm a
Motherfucker.
citizen.
At least the ones flying around, we know they're not men because they would have landed someplace where there would have been women long time ago, right? So I'm kind of like, I need to know what the hell they are, what they doing.
Well, what if they already got women on their ship?
True.
Hey, I'll be
True.
right back, but I'm gonna take a leak real quick.
All right, because you got to remember, pirates used to actually take winches on the ships with them.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
a
you got to
fact.
remember, these aliens, if they are aliens, but even think about it like this: if it's coming from my belief system and it's come from the heavenly realm, they're not citizens on Earth, so they will still be aliens.
Marcus, let me ask you: is most of the audience are they on the West Coast or like Central Time?
I assume a good portion are on the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Are
Just
you
wondering
like,
because,
wow,
like, right. Like it's 1:40 here now. Like they still playing music outside though. Like I could still go
Oh,
outside
you
and get a
talking about
drink.
my area over here? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They don't give a damn. It could be Tuesday night, and it is going to be a party. And they sit out there and sing karaoke to the same damn out of tune songs over and over and over. It,
Mm.
I mean, half the times I wonder sometimes it's not a carnival going on or a fair in the middle of the night. What was that one Kelly said? Greatest part of Spaceballs was the giant hair dryer in the steam dryer trunk. Yes.
I remember that too.
Remember when they were like,
Yeah.
we need to make sure to comb the desert. And they're out there with the big ass combs, combing the desert.
With the robot, yo, that movie was funny
and
as
then they
hell.
had the two black dudes. They had the afro pit combing
Yeah.
the desert.
Yo, that's funny shit, man. Yo, between that and like, what was it, the Naked Gun movies? Like, I love those spoof movies. They were funny as hell. Like Leslie Nielsen was funny, and Naked Gun, I think it was 2.5, and then yeah, that one was the funniest one. I think that was the one where OJ fell over.
33rd and the third or something like that.
Yeah, I remember the one OJ fell over the at the football game when he fell over the ledge. I remember that shit was funny as hell because he kept getting run over and shit. Yeah, we just killing time, man.
In fact, let's just do a check real quick in the audience. Let's see where everybody is at. Whoever's on the West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, let us know in the chat so we can see where everybody at. I see Mona's already let us know she's in Cali. We got Stevie on the East Coast. Oh wow! So you got another person on the East Coast who stays up late and doesn't sleep.
Josh said he's in Maryland, so I saw that one.
Maryland.
Okay, we got a couple of. All right.
Yeah, there's some night crew. There's some night crew. It's that Yelbro chat, man. People fucking.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Chris is in there, so you guys make sure to pester him.
Yeah, whenever I turn my shit back on.
Conversation. Because what you don't realize about it over there, because Franco just got me hip to the chat, and so once I got over there, I realized it's one of the few places you can speak brutally honest. Everybody kind of hears each other out, little spats here and there, but then everybody kind of simmers and figures about it, and there's all kind of
I am on
different information. So you just got to get.
Well, if you're on some bullshit, you're not gonna stop getting kicked. Like, and some like people will agree to points that aren't bullshit, but once you're back on some bullshit, you're getting kicked. And it's really up to nobody's making you be there.
Correct. And no screenshotting and sharing of the shit, man. Let people live, man. Don't be a snitch. Like whatever happened to yo, bro, let it stay, yo, bro. It don't have to, be shared elsewhere.
Well, that's
people love doing
that. I mean, the good thing about it in there is most of us are all kind of a good chunk of us are at least content creators or doing something on shows and things like that. So we kind of have a little bit of a affinity towards each other that we're not trying to screw each other over for the most part. At least I believe or I perceive that way. Even the people that I don't necessarily agree with that much in there. Which there's one person I won't name, but kind of annoys me on some things here and there. But I think he's all right.
Mona, behave, Mona. We don't do that. But Marcus, we at like 2:10, man. I mean, how much longer you want to keep going? I mean,
all right, yo. We'll go on ahead and get ready. Oh, wait a minute. We got to break that information about what slow news day. They have a big kind of move coming up that I kind of want us to talk about a little bit there.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So several weeks ago, my friend Charlie Robinson, who hosts a great podcast called Macroaggressions.
Okay.
It's great, dude. He's written a couple of books with Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante, the guy who throws Anarchapulco. And he has a friend named Jimmy Jean, and Jimmy Jean is a radio guy. He's got a show on Aftermath FM, which is a newer like online radio station. And they have like Clyde Lewis and a handful of other like some more like conspiracy community oriented shows. And so I went on Jimmy's show. Like immediately the station manager for Aftermath got a hold of me and was like, "We would like to carry you here on this network, crazy person." Like, bet. So we're gonna start tomorrow. Aftermath is also carried on iHeartRadio. So because I would like to see where my boundaries are on iHeart. Tomorrow we're going to be joined by Whitney Webb. And then the following week we will be joined by Ty Clevenger, who is Ed Butowski's attorney, the gentleman who's responsible for filing all of the Freedom of Information Act requests surrounding the Seth Rich assassination. The following week,
that was a robbery.
Bro, it's the most heavily redacted botched robbery in the entirety of human history.
Come on, stop, man.
Do you see the last release of the FOIA?
No, it was a robbery, blah. I
know. The week after that, we're going to be having a panel with like Nico Burmis, Magnus Panvidya, Reed Cloverdale, and who the fuck else? Got me fucked. Scott Horton. Scott Horton.
Okay.
So just all across the board, anti-authoritarian. You're gonna piss off everybody that's like, you talk to right-wingers.
Exactly.
Talk to people that don't like centralized government, you dumb fuck. Like, grow food, buy bullets. These are the people that I would like to be hanging out with in general anyway, you know?
No, I get it. I mean, I've been telling Marcus like offline too all the time, like some of these people call themselves leftists or whatever. I say it almost weekly now, Marcus. They're just a bunch of cosplayers. They're just pretending to be something they're really not, because a lot of them tend to just ignore information that doesn't, make them feel a certain way, or too much information that shocks their system. They just look the other way and then just say it's all right wing, and they're quite annoying, actually.
Dude, Matt Stoller, that fucking turkey-necked fucking scumbag motherfucker. He was on Jimmy Dore show like a few years ago, and he said the DSA progressives are frightened authoritarian children. And I was like, ooh, that's gonna land. And it fucking did. And like, I don't like that guy. I don't, but he's right. They are frightened authoritarian children. And as soon as they get a taste of power, the first thing they want to do is take away something that somebody else has.
We're watching it in real time right now with them. Going back to what you just said about, AOC earlier. We're looking at, they want to take your ability to even say anything, to even have discourse on the matter. If you look, me and Marcus have a small little shit going on. We talked about Dr. Frankenstein, shall we say. We mentioned his name a couple times, and our whole episode was gone just for mentioning the dude's name and being honest, telling the truth. So, it's, like I said, it's good that all of you are coming together, because that brings along everybody's audience. So yeah, at least more people will be able to connect that way. So that's real dope shit.
That reminds me of somebody I know who was literally just reading information from the CDC, and that got their channel on a 2-week suspension. So I'm like, this is the official narrative. This is the information you're giving us. How are we getting in trouble for reading off the information you gave us? How are we perverting that in any kind of way? So it shows just how stacked the system is, and they'll look for any way to kind of screw you, if they want to. I guess before we get out of here, I wanted to throw out, of course, shout outs to Nico House and the MCSC network over there. Also want everybody to look out for interview that I will be doing. Possibly it'll probably be on my What I've Been Thinking channel. Or it might be here on the Political Matrix. We'll figure out depending on time with Ali Alexandra from Slow News Day. And then also look out for interview that I have with Ted Rose. You all know him, the man, the myth, the legend. I will have him on soon. I've been kind of reading a lot of his information, and man, I got some very, very interesting questions.
He's putting in a lot of work.
And then one other interview I have coming up for next week, I will be doing the podcast with L. Latham. So make sure to check for all that. I'll make sure to get a copy of that and upload it onto here for those who are not podcast types. But I'll make sure to get all those different things and look for all of them. And make sure you are following all of your different favorite independent content creators out there. Give them some love. A lot of us, we do this because we care. It is not for just some kind of illicit gain. It's not for trying to turn ourselves into the next MSNBC celebrity. It's not about that. It's because there are real issues that we see going on in the world, and we want to see some kind of change. So give that love and appreciation, and a little respect. Cheer on some of those men and women out there who are doing this work, because it's easy to get frustrated at times, especially when they are censoring you so hardcore and looking for ways to try to boot you out. So, just keep supporting your favorite content creators, and, believe it or not, those little thank yous and good video. And I like seeing you and Steve together. I like to see Chris on with, and hearing these different collabos between other content creators. Push that together and push us together too. We said we're gonna do something together and we don't get together. Get in each other's live streams, our DMs, and say, hey, you guys say you're gonna do a show together. We want to see you guys get together. So
it's the beauty in the struggle. It's the beauty in the struggle, right? Because shit ain't all that good, but the beauty in the struggle is connected with people, enjoying your time with them while you're here. Don't forget that as you. It's easy to lose sight because there's a lot of issues, there's a lot of things going on all at the same time. So you bounce it from here to here. Just make sure sometimes you stop and chill. Break bread with your people, have fun, go roll up, light up, drink up. Do whatever it is you do amongst your people to enjoy yourself. Don't forget to do that. So.
And then I will leave the last closing word that you would love to give out to anybody in the audience, Steve, because, the system is pretty crazy. I always tell people, start at the smallest levels and see what you can get going there and then build from there. But trying to start at national politics at the top is just absolutely a waste of time.
Well, I mean, we're on some opt-out shit. I mean, get to know your community, get to know a community, get that community together, make sure that there are skill sets around all of you that are going to be able to make a community sustainable, and then go fucking divest and get out of major metropolitan areas soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if at all possible, make it hurt him in the wallet on the way out. Like, that's that kind of violence is the only kind of violence that they're not going to be able to respond to with a disproportionate amount of greater violence. Dude, yeah, I mean, hey, bro, you can bring a guerrilla army to a war machine fight, but it's no fun, you know. Like, and a fucking small group of like well defended people could get by for a while, but I would rather see us create something sustainable. I would
Correct.
rather get something more like ascension out of this than revolution. Revolution only brings you back to the place you started. You go around in a circle, and then you're right back to where you were.
And in the words of Chappelle, fuck your couch.
On that note, this
on that note, dude, Donnell Rawlins is a fucking bastard.
Yeah.
Why? What'd he do?
A what?
He did something wrong?
Go watch episode 499 of Kill Tony. Fucking.
He messed up because he's funny as shit.
Dude, he is. Look, well, I'm sorry, dude. I'm still fucking pissed off. So okay, so there's so do you guys know how Kill Tony works? It's kind of like a roast show, and kind of like either brand new comics or people who are like kind of just coming up or whatever. They'll come and yes, R.I.P. Paul Mooney, and I know there's a whole lot to process with that too. But R.I.P. Paul Mooney. And we don't want to get into that right now, man. I don't, dude. I don't. Fuck. That's the fuck. You know, but you died to. Nah, man, it's too late.
Y'all know how deep will go.
But so this is what happens. So there's a thing in like the Kill Tony history where you could get a golden ticket. This is incredibly rare. They were approaching 500 episodes, like a total of fucking 7 people ever. Like in a couple in foreign countries had gotten a golden ticket at Kill Tony, and that means that you just crush your minute set and then you crush the interview afterwards. And the golden ticket is you get a minute at any Kill Tony anywhere going forward whenever you want. So this dude named Al-Amin came down from Iowa to go get on stage in Austin where he is. And like historically people would go to the Comedy Store for this because Hinchcliffe also lives in LA, but he's been in Austin for a little bit, and so they're doing Kill Tony out of a place, the Blues Club in Austin. And so dude comes in from Iowa. Donnell Rawlins shows up late and he's drunk, and he doesn't know that dude is dude, like golden ticket, and not just somebody to fuck with, really. Like when Aloe comes out, he does a set, killer, 1 minute, fucking jokes, dude. He's got charisma, you know, he's a funny dude. And up until that point, you know, the only other black guy on the stage. And so in the interview, like Donnell goes from like being like, you know, kind of dickish but having fun, to just, you're really trying to like become a comic, you know. And like he was drunk, and Aloe was like, man, I love you, but I hate you, man, because of the fucking RZA thing. You're because of Wu-Tang or something like that, you know. But and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you're watching this an hour later. There's a Joe Rogan where Donnell hits in on an interview with RZA, and
he messed the whole interview up.
He does a lot of interrupting over it. And RZA, I mean, dude, that guy's fucking fascinating. I'd love to hear that guy talk for like a couple hours with Joe Rogan on some weird shit. I would, or anybody, really. So he's doing that the whole time at Kill Tony too. But and then you know, jumping in over this dude's interview. Hinchcliffe is trying to interview the guy, you know, and again, Donnell doesn't know he's golden ticket, dude. And so he's like cuts on him a little bit. And dude's like, all right, that's what, you know, and fucking, and they're, you know, still trying to do the interview. Donnell keeps cutting in and fucking like cuts on the dude again. has too, you know, and fucking he does it again, and the guy fucking
just snaps on him.
he was like, motherfucker, dude, like, who the fuck are you to come at me like the fucking your entire career is hanging around that chain they gave you. Like, fucking just like goes off on and fucking, oh, you got look at them Jordans, are those Chappelle shoes? Come on, man, what the fuck is this, dude? He goes, you look like Idris Elba fucked a blowfish.
Ooh. Damn. Shots fired.
Bro.
Little man down. Shots fired, little man down. Because he's a little guy.
So, all right. And so Donnell loses it and fucking just hijacks the entire episode and fucking does this shit and fucking like tells this really long drawn out story and whatever. And the end of it is Hinchcliffe, you know, being like, so that was crazy, you know, and then he's like, Alla, please, dude, come open for me on Thursday. Come open for me on Saturday. Like, work this out, you know. But like, and then I saw Hinchcliffe on a somebody's show down the road, and he's like, dude, it was like he didn't think that, you know, sometimes you reach a certain level of success and then you don't think that anybody else has a right to get there or shoot a shot or any of that. They like it. It's just fucking weird because everybody that I've ever heard talk about that guy is like, this dude is top 3, top 5 funniest dudes on the fucking planet, you know? So, but he was drunk and dude hit him in the spot and he just fucking lost it. It just everything that you could possibly do wrong in that situation, he did wrong in that situation. Like it was fucking.
You said episode 499 to Kill Tony. All right. I'm gonna look for it. Probably when we get off of here. It's like what, it's 2:02 over here now.
I mean, you know, I'm not like trying to fucking quiz you on it in the morning, bro.
No. I'm saying I probably put another one of these, go outside for a little bit, and then probably watch it on my way upstairs.
There you go. Wow. But yeah, no, I mean it's like 45 minutes, an hour in, something like that. And it's like, but yeah, dude, it's ain't it the whole lead up to that too. You're just like, it's gonna be that night. And then Donnell ends up like rage quitting the show, like walking off on the show too.
Oh, so he's like a little kid. So he turned into a little kid on the video game. He rage quit. All right, we get that.
It sounds like my brother throwing over the Monopoly board.
Oh man, I play some Monopoly, spades, you know, dominoes, anything. We can get it. And I talk
card tables. Dude, I'll talk some shit.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'll make you mad playing dominoes. I'll make you mad. You will forget how to count. You will lose count.
That's my shit. I love it.
You'll have 9 + 7 being fucking 15. You'll be mad. You slam that shit down. No.
See, I've got a secret suspicion about you, Steve. I've had this theory for a while. That secretly, you got a black guy somewhere in there or somewhere in your background.
I know that was coming.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Can I tell you something, man? Can I tell you something? So the town I grew up in, Anderson, Indiana, was racially segregated until it wasn't, until it was economically segregated.
All right,
my dad went to college in that town, played on like the first mixed college baseball team in that, like 1964, 1965. And when they went to go travel, and this is a church college that's there, and they're playing in that like Division III church league, and they're going in the Midwest, and everywhere that they would go with their mixed race team, they would fucking have to fight. And these are like, you know, fucking college athletes, dude, and half of them are playing football and shit, dude, and they all fucking grew up, you know, pretty fucking rough, and so they were down. And so, like, my dad's entire fucking college career, dude, he's you know, splitting his knuckles for his teammates, you know, and his family. And then he didn't leave the town, right? Or, well, we ended up moving back to that town when I was 3, so we might as well not have. But like, so the people that he went to school with, a lot of them still in that town. So that's who I grew up with. And like most of the white dudes that he played baseball with weren't in that town, but the rest of his family that he played baseball with were. So that was my family when I grew up. And like predominantly, like the majority of my friends were fucking black dudes. Whole lot of my first 3 girlfriends were black.
There you go.
A lot of sense.
I'm talking about.
Like up until the girl
like,
that I'm
man,
dating now, which you could make the argument that it still kind of is, but like I didn't realize this until recently, dude. Somebody had to point it out to me. But like,
I've known Steve for
date a lot of girls with like white girls with black girls' names too. It's really fucking weird.
It's been
like,
a while
like
since I've known Steve
Kendras
too.
and Marias and Shanaes and shit like that.
I've
Like
never
Tiana,
asked it, but I've always had a feeling, an inkling. I can sense it. I knew it. I was like, this dude, man, if you just listen to all the issues, which Steve is into, you listen to how anytime you see somebody who's downtrodden, he automatically has a bond and a connection and a need to fight for and help defend. And he's also, it's not like the old 50s movies where you have that old John Brown kind of spirit. The guy comes from crosstown and he helps out, but after that, he's like the lawyer who needs to go back home and go across town. Steve's like the guy who's helping you with the fight and then comes to the cookout afterwards. And so it always had a little different feel. And now it makes perfect sense.
It was fucking funny, man. No, I was bad. Born at the fucking cookout, dude. I really was, man. It's fucking crazy.
Born at the cookout. That's a funny shit.
I mean, you know, it's what it is, but like,
cool. Look, that's the thing. You cool, you come get a plate, you eat, we chill, talk. That's it.
Hey,
you know.
I just thought about it. You need to have Chris on, and y'all need to talk hip hop.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm for it. I'm for it, dude. How old are you? I'm 43.
Steve talks about hip hop a lot, and people, it would shock people who just looked at him by image how much he knows about hip hop.
I'm 19.
All right, bro.
With the grays in my beard.
You having babies at 2 years old?
No, I'm 39.
Okay. So I got a couple of years on you, but you know, I mean, and like, so when I grew up, I had real punk rock and real hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had, and that's what I would like to see come out again. I think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think there's enough consciousness floating out. I think there's enough, like, the medium's right. I think like there's still a way to do it where we can come up with some real shit again. And I think
you just have to search for it. You know, you just have to get a little bit deeper than the surface. As I listen to Migos play from the bar downstairs from my house, right? It's the funniest shit.
All right, y'all. We'll fucking.
That is a fact. I can confirm that.
I share a birthday with Boots Riley, and I love that.
Wow.
Nice.
And I love that.
So who do you? So real quick before we get out of here, who do you like now? Who do you listen to now? Do you listen to anything new?
Loki, yeah, Loki's a badass. There's gonna be people that there's a fucking Afro's fucking dope, dude. That dude that hangs out with R.A. the Rugged Man. You know what I'm talking about? All flows reach out. That's what the acronym. I hit him up and asked him to come on the show, and then like we stopped messaging there for a little bit. It was also right around that January 6th, and maybe you saw my timeline where I was like, "Hey, I was there, and it wasn't an insurrection." And he's like, "Fuck this, dude, I'm out." You know, it's possible, but still, I don't know. But that dude's awesome. Like, I'll fucking, like, I had RA on the show. I'll have him back on the show. That dude's just a fucking legend. But like, I'll still listen to whatever Tech puts out in World Technique. I will. But I don't know a lot really about, like, and I need to. If there's people that are fucking solid, that like Loki showed up without having to catch up, and
That's
like
good.
fuck with that dude all day long. But I'm also like just buried in the shit that we do, and I wish I could get out for music more. I wish I could have time to just fucking sit back and listen to music more.
No, that's what I was saying. Sometimes, you do have to disconnect from the shit, because it can become a little consuming. So that's why it is important sometimes to be like, you know what? Like, it is a slow news day. I'm going to chill today, and I'm going to go do some other shit, Sometimes you just have to do that.
Yeah,
Chris, when do you join the 40 Club?
Oh, that's none of your business, kid. It might be November. It might be November, but you know what? Since they took
okay, help me clear something up before we go, Chris, because people get hella fucking mad at me because I call everybody kid.
Okay.
And they think I'm being disrespectful. How old do you think I am? I don't fucking know, dude, but I call people kids. That's fucking how we grew up. What's up, kid? Yes, dude. Every fucking, and so like and people get mad about that.
Look, the really these how do I say it again? They even fuck me up because I'm sitting here trying to think on how not to, offend people. But you know what? Fuck them. Quite honestly.
Go listen to Guru and then come talk to me. How about that? How about you go listen to Gangstar for a week and then you come talk to me? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not meant from any place. It's not coming from a bad place. So, in this day and age, everything is going to offend everybody. Yeah, not yet, Thomas. Not yet. We're not going to force that. They took my birthday last year, so I was really running around telling people I was still 38 because, the Rona put everything on hold. So I'm like, you want to take my year? All right, cool. I'm not changing the number, but I had to face reality, So, yeah, November.
Those grays start speaking a different story.
I know. I'm going to go to the barber. Oh, he's going to trim it up. Next week when you see me, I'll be clean. I'm a little rough for myself, but yeah. You'll see.
Don't worry. Next week I'll be probably bushier and shaggier.
All right. Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Look, he got more head. Exactly.
I'll be wearing a suit tomorrow morning, though. I will.
Uh-oh.
If you wear all black on a Saturday morning, you would look like the Orthodox who march by my crib every Saturday, leaving the synagogue.
I'll confuse the fuck out of some people.
Yes, you would.
Show up in the morning. Yeah. I mean, I have a black shirt. I have a black jacket. It does not look woolen, and I have the wrong shaped hat. It's it all comes down to, like, people hate each other because of the shape of their hat, and I wish we could stop that bullshit.
Look,
you really care what shape your
on
hat
the side almost even curls already.
I have curly hair. I do.
Yeah, you could just throw in a yarmulke. That'd be good.
I mean, I've played a character before. On a couple of different shows where like this just like nihilistic progressive hipster shitbird, and like people get mad because they don't like they buy it. They like people get in the fucking chats think it's real, and they get fucking mad, dude. It's like so you can't do it too many times because then you ruin it. But yeah,
real quick, tell them one of my favorite stories you're telling me about working with Chris Hayes.
So once upon a time, I was part of an online blog team, election blog team for the nation, in
Okay.
2008, and so the politics editor of the nation was Chris Hayes.
Yes,
uh,
I remember
and,
that.
and it was before he made the jump full time to MSNBC.
To
Um,
MSDNC.
yeah, yeah, and I had started out, try to like cover Gravel and Kucinich, and then Iowa happened, and so I started like, well, now I need to talk about these bastards. Let's really sort of look at them, and fucking found out right away that John Edwards was a shitbird, and then almost immediately after that, this shit leaked out about what was it?
His
Him banging
affair.
his, yeah, it was secretary, chief of staff, some shit like that, while his wife was in the hospital with cancer or something. Just super classy. And so I really started digging into Barack Obama. And ahead of the convention, I wrote a piece that I submitted, and I titled it Barack Obama Reagan with a Tan. And I was immediately invited to become successful elsewhere, and was subsequently blacklisted, and like did not really haven't, like, I've written since,
Mhm.
and I've written for like a handful of different outlets that either got DCMA violation from another company, that they was a parent company, or it would get bought out by a different company, and then we would all get fired, and that happened about 6-7 times, something like that. But as far as like working anywhere near anything approaching the mainstream, that was not gonna happen.
He said Obama was a tan Reagan. That's an apt description.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
this was
actually
in 2008, when you just absolutely could not say that, even though he had stood on a fucking stage and quoted Reagan, like in the primaries, and was talking about in the debates, like where they made all of the people who were Democrats be like, say something nice about a Republican, and everybody was like, Ronald Reagan's the shit.
yeah.
Well, he literally said he modeled himself after Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah, but he
It
said
worked.
that he said that in a debate with McCain. He waited until after the primary was over before he trotted that one out.
Yeah.
But he had spent a lot of the I'm pretty sure when he launched his campaign, he quoted Reagan. I'm pretty sure. Like when they did the thing in the snow and it was staged perfectly, and he launched it historic and blah blah blah. And I'm pretty sure he quoted Reagan in that too.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Yep.
He did. He knew
But
how to
I'm the
reach
asshole for pointing it out, right? I'm the fucking prick.
No, I mean, and you're the white dude, so when you're the black dude, a little bit contrarian, and you're amongst your family and friends, and they love Obama, and you're the dude that's like, nah, he's garbage. You get attacked there too. So trust me, I get it.
What they do is when Steve tells the truth, they'll give him a little bit of grace to be able to say something, because he's kind of stuck his head above the water before a lot of the censors really start cracking down. But they're going to just slap his hands in his head and punch him every time he says anything. He's going to get brutalized. What they do to us is they say, let's keep those doors shut, and these fuckers are not going to get to even say anything. Let's not let them get up to Steve's point.
Look what they did to Cornel West and Tavis Smiley.
So we don't have to deal with another headache to be slapping around.
Well, look what they did to Cornel West and Tavis Smiley. Like, they were like persona non grata, as they say, whatever that shit means, right? For the White House, but Al Sharpton and the like, they could come in at any time. Like, I don't even want to get started on them people. Like, I could go in, but I'll just chill for now.
That's what I said. We got to get you doing. I want to get you doing more interviews out on some of these channels, because I don't think a lot of these people are familiar with Chris as they should be.
I'm a little crazy, Marcus. You don't want to introduce me to everybody. You can't bring me around all your friends.
No, I mean, honestly, there's some conversations which me and Steve have had back in the day that you would have been perfect for it. Especially one comes to mind about chemtrails.
All over the place.
I'll go
So
off on
yeah,
some. Yeah.
Steve talks about a lot of stuff, and so for my audience who is not as familiar with Steve, you really need to be following my advice and checking all of the other independent content creators out there, because we all can't cover everything all the time, and that's the reason why I always point you to different people, because there's somebody who's taking care of this and there's somebody who's on this, and then you have like Convo Couch, who they do a lot of live reporting, and you have Nico, who's doing all kind of different projects, and he's kind of trying to quarterback this whole thing which he has over there with this whole network. And then we just have, there's so many different arms and legs to this whole kind of Megatron on the independent side, and we don't know where we fit. We just know that we're one of those parts that is pushing for a better cause. So
Yeah, he was a funny guy back when he was chubby, but now that he's super skinny, he's just a super sellout, like even worse than before.
The Jerry curl too.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to listen to Reverend Annie talk about Al Sharpton, even back in the day, man, and Jesse Jackson even back in the day, and when you hear an ordained minister called Jesse Jackson a poverty pimp.
Yo, my man started the Rainbow Coalition, actually built a legitimate movement of people, right? That was not part of the 1%. And then he just funneled everybody into the Democratic Party.
Well, like the original Rainbow Coalition was Fred Hampton. The original Rainbow Coalition was built on the fucking destabilization of a capitalist centralized fucking oligarchy. And then Jesse Jackson came around in the mid 80s, co-opted that shit fucking entirely, which happened like a couple of years before the FBI admitted that they were the ones that fucking assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And fucking Jesse Jackson was pretty integral to that. Like, and they're like, and he got to fucking run for president and co-opt the Rainbow Coalition and forever fucking besmirch Fred Hampton's name as a result. I'll get a little bit. Dude, Jesse Jackson fucking sat there and shit talked Kwame Ture for like 3 fucking decades, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, no, dude, fuck that motherfucker.
He didn't like Marcus. We still could call him Stokely. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like him at all. No, but anytime, look, at the end of the day, though, anytime there's a black dude who is too confident in himself and believing, and is very on point with their criticisms of the system, they always find the next dudes to come along and they own to shoot them all down. Like, it's kind of like one of those things, yo, you making too much noise. Massa gonna be mad. You need to calm that down. Don't talk
the last person you saw black out on fucking network television? Like, honestly, who's the last person you saw just black out on fucking TV?
I think, Dylan Radigan one day. And that was years ago.
But like, as a black man or a black woman, just fucking be like black on camera.
Very few.
You don't get to get on any. I mean, the closest you can get is probably a Tonight Show. It has to be something in a comedy realm, entertainment realm, or what is it? The Breakfast Club. That's probably the closest you're getting. And
that's all program. That's all DNC type of programming too on the Breakfast Club.
Well, and Charlamagne isn't even mainstream. Well, I mean, it's mainstream, but it's not like network television or cable.
No,
television.
you won't find that. You'll find only Andrew Gillum,
Mike Yard on Larry Wilmore's show. On Comedy Central is like 20, I don't know, 15, maybe 20. Got to actually like be black on camera like once. And then he didn't show up as much again on the show.
That's a scary thing to a lot of people for a lot of reasons. You know, we'll get to that one another day, but for some people it is. I don't know why, but it is what it is.
Well, I can tell you exactly why. And the reason why is they can have, and for colloquial terms we'll say, they can have a white guy like Steve, and they'll feel like we can just pretend that what he's talking about, it's not a major issue, or marginalize him and say, oh, well, look, shaggy beard, and see the he washed out with the nation or wherever. You know how they like to frame shit. And so they can dismiss him easy and say, well, he's not even a black guy. Why does he even care about all these things? And it's easier to ignore, you know, and devalue, you know, what he's talking about, and say, well, you don't get it. I'm a black guy, so of course I have more credibility in what I'm saying than him. And that's what they do. So by keeping people like me and Chris and Emmanuel and some of these other people like Nico, they keep us away from speaking. Then they keep the what is that goofball that goes on? Well, shit, Joanne Reed her damn self. They put the Jesse Jacksons, they put the Al Sharptons, they put these people in charge to speak for the black community instead of letting people who really go through the shit speak for it.
Are you telling me you don't feel represented by Ben Dixon?
Oh gosh. Ben Dixon.
That dude blocked me on Twitter like 2 years ago when I called him. I think I called him a clown and told him like shut the fuck up about some dumb shit.
And then what
he blocked me like real quick.
He tried to fix it and then tried to, you know, do that kind of with Tim Black, that little come to Jesus moment, like, oh yeah, I know I was tripping about some stuff, but now I see the light. And it's like, wait a minute, Tim Black, you don't see the light either. So I mean, what is this? I mean, you guys are both still.
Tim Block can kiss my ass.
Exactly. You guys are both trying to still sheep herd people into this same waste. Well, what fired me up about him, I did a video about it, and I don't know if I named him or not. I'm pretty sure people can figure out or not. I don't really care if they do or not. But what I said in there, he was like, what do you expect Bernie to do? You expect him to risk himself and get himself in? And I'm like, yes. If I'm saying that I'm going to get out there and I'm going to represent millions of people, then you should have enough stones and backbone to fight 150%. Now, you look at the civil rights leaders. Leader after leader after leader was assassinated. And what did they do? They still rose up and decided, I'm going to take that chance to fight for my people. Now, if you're not going to take that kind of spirit, which the civil rights leaders took towards fighting against these systemic problems that we have, then I don't fucking need you. And so for people like Tim Black that want to give an excuse for these politicians who get up there and when it's the moment, when it's most needed, you shit the fucking bed, I don't need you. I only need people who are going to fight. And if you don't have the belly to fight for it, don't get up there and say you're going to do it. Don't get up there. Or when I had, when I was on with Niall, when I used to do that show, Niall would say, oh, well, you got to understand, I knew that he was going to flake at some point. If you knew he was going to flake at some point, why the fuck are you still supporting him? I don't support people who are intentionally going to bend the knee when it's time to stand up. And nobody out there should. And to look at us as insane because we have a problem with watching a leader who said, I'm going to fight for you, not fight for us, but we're the ones who have a problem. Yeah, fuck you, Tim Black.
I feel you, son.
I'm a veteran, and I look at it like this. I at a young age was willing to put my life on the line, and it wasn't for this country. That's one thing I like to clarify for people. It was for the people. I care about people. I don't give a fuck about this government or this nation. I care about the people in it and that they were able to be able to live, happy lives and be able to live comfortably in peace, love their families, and that's all I was concerned about. Didn't give a shit about this nation. I still don't give a shit about this nation. It's only about people.
I mean,
your man was on Saturday Night Live stripping, kid. Oh man, I'm out of here. I can't do it. Your man, Lil Nas X, was on Saturday Night Live. I just seen this shit right now. I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah, I'm out, man. This shit is ridiculous. I'm gonna have me another drink and call it a damn morning. Yo, but the playoffs is tomorrow. The Lakers play, at 3:00 my time, so it's 12:00 your time. And my Knicks, we finally in the playoffs after 8 years. That's at 7 p.m. So you already know I'm playoff basketball. Yeah, yeah, I'm a Knicks fan, kid. Don't be mad.
Oh yeah,
we shitty, but I stay with him.
Hey, no, I mean, okay, but okay.
Yeah, we ain't going nowhere. I get it. But yeah, that's my shit. I like basketball. I stopped watching football a while ago. So basketball and tennis really the only two things that I watch.
All
My
right.
one regret in life was not trying to holler at Serena when I had the chance.
You and me both, man. You and me
Word. I was
both.
right next to her. No, she knew my name. I was talking to her. She said, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" My homeboys is like, "Yo, she know your name, kid. Talk to her." I was like, I'm a bum. I ain't had the confidence. I should have shot my shot at the time. I had nothing to lose. Now,
Gotta shoot the shot. Gotta shoot the shot.
Exactly. But yeah, I just, tennis and basketball is my shit. So.
All right, man.
And for you guys out there in the audience, I promise you, I will not let this take another year before me and Steve sit down and talk. I plan to definitely welcome, over to the channel as much as he feels like. Whenever he has the time, he's very busy over there, and they're gonna start hitting the road soon. And make sure to watch out and keep up with their content, what they're doing over there. Him, Ali, and Glory. A lot of love to both of those ladies over there. And I guess we'll just close it up. This has been the Political Matrix. A lot of fun here with two good friends, Chris and Steve Poikonen from the Slow News Day. I don't know why I always start getting tongue tied and want to say Slow Day News, even though I know it's Slow News Day. But
Pasta does the same shit, man. Pasta does the exact same shit.
I always catch myself, but it always happens where I'm always almost about to say that. But yes, I will check out Odyssey. Thank you, Shadow Band Refugee, and thank you for everybody who tuned in tonight.
Appreciate everybody.
Appreciate you all.
Steve, it's good to meet you, man.
Hey, you too, man.
My show kind of late, but it's because we talk about a little edgier topics, and I feel like maybe the moderator might not have as much coffee while he or she is watching my channel, figuring when to throw the strikes. So I figure we can get away with a little bit more shit later in the night. That's why that's kind of my motive. So hopefully y'all join in, catch next week. Or possibly I might have Ali on. I might try to work that out and get her on for next week. And then catch all of our content that's coming up. And badger Chris to get him out there to do more interviews so you guys can start seeing him and Emmanuel's face more often in the community. With that said, you all have a great weekend. Stay strong. Keep fighting for each other. Remember, we don't need a damn Bernie Sanders or no fucking politician to stand up and fight for each other. Don't wait for a politician to save you, because they're not.
Facts. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Take care, y'all.